Chapter 101, C102 The Lord of Changes. After a long while, monks started to react one after another, and they burst into excited cheers. We are saved. Damn it, whoever said that Senior Yi was a bad person before was just spreading rumors. From today on, if I meet any blind guy who dares to slander Senior Yi's reputation, I will risk my life to kill him. Thank you, Senior Yi, for taking the initiative. Kill the demon monk in Shuangkong Temple. Everyone looked in admiration and bowed deeply. There were even many female monks with rosy faces, looking at that figure with a transcendent temperament, admiration welling up deep in their hearts. Master Yi is so powerful. And Miao Yi murmured, Miss, when it comes to treating such a peerless strong man, it's better to call him senior. Fan Desheng corrected him fearfully. Just with this perfect cultivation level of overcoming the tribulation, he has already stood at the pinnacle level of the cultivation world in the eastern region. It is very likely that he will become an immortal in the future. Master is mighty. Li Wuji's heart was surging, and he admired Yi Junlin. Seeing this, Hong Chenyi felt chills all over her body. With his eyesight, he can naturally see more. According to the almost abnormal defense ability of Master Ran Dang, even if it is thrown into the central domain, it is relatively rare in the tribulation realm. Especially after reaching this realm, the vitality will be very tenacious, so it is generally difficult to kill. Even if the cultivation level is 1 level higher, or 2 levels higher, there is no guarantee that the opponent can be killed 100%, so after the tribulation realm, although there is a winner and loser in the battle between the two, there is rarely the concept of death. After all, even if you can't fight, you can still escape. As a result, Master Ran Dang was too trusting and immersed in past experiences. Unexpectedly, he was really punched to pieces. Where is this guy's limit? Hong Chenyi's eyes were dark and unclear, and she was confused. Seeing Master Ran Dang being killed, the dozens of fellow elders who accompanied him all turned pale with fright, their lips were trembling, and the fear in their eyes could not be increased. Only they know how high the status of that person is in the Shuangkong Temple. If one of them dies, it will shake the foundation. Quickly, go back to Shuangkong Temple. These monks looked panicked and turned around to flee. Suddenly, a roar like thunder came from behind. Bald donkey, where can you escape? Li Wuji heard the wind and moved, and he pulled out his long sword boldly. The sword's light was invincible, and the sword's energy was surging freely. Puff puff puff. The bodies of the monks one after another were bleeding, and then under the incredulous eyes, the bodies were torn into pieces, and the cuts were smooth and flat. In the midst of lightning and flint, Li Wuji turned around and put away his sword. The whole process was smooth and elegant. What a fast knife! Everyone swallowed their saliva. Aha! Yi Junlin ducked in front of several impostors and said, after using my reputation, you want to run away. At the same time, those few people were still hoping to escape. Now that they saw Yi Junlin blocking the way, their tense spirits collapsed. They were so frightened that they cried loudly and knelt on the ground and kowtowed, Senior Yi. Spare your life. Ah, we were confused for a moment. Please don't meet with ants like us. It's him, he planned it all. The man in the hat quickly pointed at the white-haired old man, trying to clear up the relationship. That's right, this old guy is so bad. Several other people pointed out with indignation and intent on burning bridges. The white-haired old man was so angry that he cursed in his heart, but now that the matter had come to this, he did not want to suffer any loss. He gritted his teeth and said, Senior Yi, I admit that it was my greed for profit that made me do such a stupid thing, but you have to know that I am not the only one who does this. It can be done, so please handle it fairly. Old guy, you're dragging us into the water when you're about to die. Your conscience has been eaten by a dog, said the man in a hat angrily. Aha, I should have listened to your nonsense. I used to do well in Fengchun Tower. I was the #1 at that time, but you deceived me into doing such a shameless thing. The hot-bodied guy, the woman in red, was crying. Hey, I used to be a spiritual cultivator, responsible for taking care of spiritual rice and medicinal herbs for a small sect. Later, I didn't make much spiritual crystals, so I got a weird idea. If I could go back in time, I would definitely work diligently, farm honestly. Cried another short dwarf. Yi Junlin shook his head. These guys are so bold. But there is nothing to sympathize with. After all, people have to pay the due price for their mistakes, and when they are not exposed, how proud they are of mentioning them individually. Just when Yi Junlin was about to speak, Fan Desheng rushed over first, grabbed the man in a bamboo hat by the collar, and growled emotionally, You bastard, the 5 million top-quality spiritual crystals you defrauded before, spit it out to me. Quote. Feeling the momentum of a Mahayana monk, The man in the hat was so frightened that his face turned pale, and he muttered, "Senior, if you have anything to say, please tell me. I will give you all the money I have. Where are ours? Give us back all the spiritual crystals, magic weapons, and talismans that you snatched before." A large group of victims rushed over angrily, with murderous looks on their faces, and they were surrounded by 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside. The white-haired old man was so frightened that he was sweating profusely and said, "Pay it back, we all pay it back." Yi Junlin originally wanted to punish them, but when he saw this large group of angry monks, he knew that in this world of cultivation where the jungle prevailed, the fate of these people would be miserable, so he turned and left immediately. Li Wuji wanted to kill the fake, but found that the other party was just a little scoundrel, not worthy of dying under his knife. He snorted coldly and followed behind his master. Hong Chenny looked cold, thinking that attacking a woman with big breasts and no brains would lower her status, so she turned around and left. "Miss N, what are you looking at?" Yi Junlin looked at An Miaoyi's dazed look and asked with a smile. An Miaoyi came back to her senses, put her hands on her waist, and said coquettishly, "Mr. Yi, you lied to me before. I trusted you so much." Yi Junlin shrugged, "I didn't expect that your mind was so simple, and I only found out now." "Are you calling me stupid?" And Miaoyi was even more unhappy. "No, this is called a pure heart. People with this quality often have a smooth path to practice. Miss N, I am very optimistic about you," Yi Junlin said seriously. And Miaoyi was stunned, and then overjoyed, her eyes sparkling, with a clear stupidity, "Really? You didn't lie to me?" Yi Junlin said, "I never fool people. Haha, you found out, I tell you, don't think you are invincible, I will surpass you in the future." And Miaoyi raised her chin, with a proud look on her face. Yi Junlin smiled and said, "Then you work hard, I will wait for you at the finish line." Then, he began to summon a kun. Boom, soon, a huge mythical creature drilled out of the clouds and swooped down on the majestic airflow. Kunpeng's aura is very powerful, making a loud and high-pitched voice, domineeringly announcing its arrival. "Look, it's Senior Yi's mount," someone said in shock. The rumor is true, Senior Yi's mount is really the mythical beast Kunpeng. The scene was boiling again, and exclamations came one after another. Yi Junlin smiled and bowed, "Miss N, see you later." Looking at the strange yet familiar silver-haired young man in front of her, thinking of the beautiful flute sound played that night and the misunderstanding between them, and Miaoyi's face turned red. For some reason, she felt an inexplicable emotion in her heart. She clenched her teeth and said, "Well, see you again if we are destined." Yi Junlin nodded and turned away. The group boarded Kunpeng. The Great Mushroom King was terrified. This ultimate creature would actually submit to the human race. It seems that its master is really not simple. Swish. Amid countless shocked eyes, Kunpeng soared up to 90,000 miles and disappeared in the distant sky. "We respectfully send off Senior Yi." Facing that direction, everyone bowed deeply and said in awe. When they go back, they must publicize this matter well, break the rumors that have been circulating during this period, and maintain the glorious image of Senior Yi. Suddenly, a monk noticed something, widened his eyes, and said in a lost voice, "Wait, where is that old man? Where did he go?" Everyone looked at him in unison, and their faces suddenly changed. "How long has it been?" He disappeared from under their noses. Fan Desheng released his spiritual sense to cover the surroundings, frantically screening every corner from top to bottom, but he didn't find the figure of the white-haired old man. It was as if he evaporated out of thin air. "Tell me, where did that old guy go?" A burly man asked the man in the bamboo hat. The man in the bamboo hat looked confused and said, "Who are you talking about? Wait, why am I here?" These people seemed to have lost their memory and had completely forgotten what happened before. Fan Desheng's face was gloomy, and he stretched out his hand to hold the man in the bamboo hat's head and began to search his soul roughly. Then, the second, the third. The result was that these people really lost their memory. At this time, after being forced to search their souls, the man in the bamboo hat and the others were unconscious, fell to the ground and foamed at the mouth, and their bodies twitched from time to time. "Fellow Taoist, what's going on?" Everyone looked at Fan Desheng in unison. "Uncle Fan, what happened?" And Miaoyi asked in surprise. Fan Desheng's eyes kept changing, and his face was ugly and he said, "Damn it, we were all fooled by that guy." As soon as this was said, the whole audience burst into an uproar. Countless people looked at each other in disbelief. "Don't be stunned, even if you go to heaven or hell, you must pull that guy out." Fan Desheng shouted angrily. He didn't expect that he was actually tricked. What is the origin of the other party? How can he have such an incredible method? Quick, go find him. The crowd spread like a tide, their faces were filled with shock and anger. I wish I could find that person and chop him into pieces, grind his bones and scatter his ashes. Damn it, I haven't got my money yet. Why did that old guy disappear? Among them, a young man wearing a white robe, with red lips and white teeth, and a handsome appearance, said angrily. Looking at the direction where Kunpeng disappeared in the distance, his mouth curled up a subtle arc, and he secretly rejoiced in his heart. Hee, I didn't die, which shows that I, Bai Liang, am really lucky. Bai Liang's name is not well known in the eastern region. But he has a title that is as famous as thunder. It has been passed down for many years and has left many legends. People in the underworld call him the Lord of Changes. Fortunately, my Wushang divine art has been cultivated to the realm of transformation, otherwise it would have been exposed just now. As for the memories of those idiots, I had tampered with them long ago. This time I was able to escape death, and I can rely on the wealth accumulated before to quickly break through the realm. This is an unimaginable huge cultivation resource. Bai Liang's heart was burning, and his breathing was a little rapid. From the beginning to the end, he was the biggest beneficiary. Those people were just working for him. He thought the operation would be successfully completed, but he didn't expect something to go wrong in the end and encounter such a sudden change. Fortunately, everything went well and he was the winner after all. Sensing that someone was looking at him, the young man turned into an angry expression and shouted hysterically, "Damn old thing, don't let me find you. Otherwise, I will peel your skin off." Chapter 102, C1022 Too Much Curl. On the back of Kunpeng, there are pavilions, small bridges, flowing water, and lush vegetation, making it look like a comfortable mountain resort village. The big Mushroom King was stunned and almost thought he had arrived in paradise. Yi Junlin said seriously, "Everyone, let us welcome the new members." Applause. Bang bang bang, crisp applause sounded. Li Wuji obeyed the instructions obediently, Bai Xiaoxi appeared the most lively, and Hong Chenny clapped her hands perfunctorily a few times. The big Mushroom King was a little embarrassed and muttered, thank you everyone. Xiaohei, this is your senior brother Hong Chenny. He is very enthusiastic. If you have any questions about practice, you can ask him." Yi Junlin patted Hong Chenny on the shoulder and said with a smile. Hong Chenny's body trembled, and then she smiled cooperatively. The smile was uglier than crying. "Master is right, fourth junior brother, if you have any difficulties, you can come to me." The big Mushroom King was stunned. This is actually a man. But this expression makes it feel like someone is being coerced. I'm not sure. I'll take another look. Afterwards, after Yi Junlin completed the introductions one by one, he became a hands-off shopkeeper and continued to return to the state of lying flat on his back. Xiaoxi, rub my teacher's shoulders. Shu Shu is coming right away. Bai Xiaoxi took off her curtain hat, revealing a white fluffy rat head with beady eyes and a cute expression. It ran up behind Yi Junlin, and kneaded it with its young hands, with moderate strength, soft yet firm. The big Mushroom King was dumbfounded. It turns out that senior sister Bai's body is a white-haired rat. And why is it a rat-headed person? Could it be caused by the failure of transformation? Hong Chenny secretly breathed a sigh of relief. When passing by the big Mushroom King, he glanced at the fifth junior brother from the corner of his eye. Boom! The big Mushroom King's head roared. It actually caught the fiery greed in the eyes of this senior brother. It was frightened and took a few steps back. It was filled with uncertainty. Did he just want to eat me? At this time, Hong Chenny sat cross-legged under the sycamore tree, as if nothing had happened and was meditating on her own. In his heart, he has long believed that the big Mushroom King is the elixir that Yi Junlin has ordered, and he is waiting for the time to pick it when the time comes. This kind of thing is very common in the demonic world. The most famous one is the blood demon Shi Tianju who died before. He is good at teaching other people's skills, and then he will devour them after they succeed in their cultivation and strengthen himself. Therefore, according to Hong Chenny's brain circuit, the reason why Yi Junlin accepted this immortal chaos mushroom as his disciple for no reason was to refine it one day and increase his cultivation. As expected, that guy has a very deep city. If it were me, I would definitely eat it impatiently. How could I keep it by my side and cultivate it slowly like now? Hong Chenny said secretly in his heart. The big Mushroom King was very worried and hesitated to tell the master about this, because he was really afraid of being eaten, but he had no evidence and was afraid of causing trouble. At this time, the big Mushroom King saw a middle-aged man squatting in the corner, his back turned to him, as if he was secretly eating something. That was its third senior brother, Li Wuji. When the master introduced it, King Mushroom felt that this human race had a very good attitude and sincerely welcomed its joining. Third senior brother, what are you doing? Li Wuji stiffened and turned his head to look around. He was still chewing the golden roots in his mouth, and the medicinal juice overflowed. The king of mushrooms felt as if he was struck by lightning and recognized that this was the golden ginseng of medicine king quality. Li Wuji was a little embarrassed when he was caught stealing. He handed over the half-eaten golden ginseng angrily and said with an awkward smile, "Fourth junior brother, would you like some too?" Standing in the field of view of the big mushroom king, this human race was eating its own race alive, and even handed the corpse to it, with its white teeth exposed in its mouth. Aha! In an instant, the cold air hit the big mushroom king's head. The previous longing disappeared and was replaced by deep fear. Is it on a pirate ship? Is it too late to regret now? Oh, look at my brain. Fourth junior brother, please don't mind. Senior brother, I didn't mean it. Li Wuji reacted and quickly put the golden ginseng in his mouth and chewed it, with a smile on his face, wanting to. He seemed very friendly and got closer to this new junior brother. As a result, in the eyes of the big mushroom king, this kind of behavior is simply more terrifying than the evil ghosts in Shira hell. It was so frightened that it almost lost its consciousness. Its body flew away like a spring, and it hid shivering in the jungle. I seem to have done something wrong, Li Wuji said with a bitter smile. After eating golden ginseng, Li Wuji felt the power of the medicine surge in his body and his whole body was unbearably hot. He gritted his teeth and calmed down, pulled out the ink sword and practiced his sword skills. The aura on his body became more and more sharp and unstoppable. Finally, with the sword vibrating, he had a clear understanding, and his cultivation suddenly broke through the bottleneck, leaping from the early stage of Mahayana to the late stage. Hey, it's cool, Li Wuji said with satisfaction. After all, with the assistance of the top medicine king and his mastery of swordsmanship, his cultivation level has naturally improved by leaps and bounds. Hey, compared to senior brother Hong and senior sister Bai, I still need to keep working hard. Fortunately, there is a new junior brother here. After all, I, Li Wuji, am not at the bottom. How can I join this kind of sect without getting involved? He plans to continue to make breakthroughs and surprise everyone. At this time, Yi Junlin was enjoying a massage when he suddenly thought of something and took out a large can of tea from the storage space. When you open the jar, the fragrance of tea leaves fills the air, making you feel relaxed and happy. Master, it smells so good, Bai Xiaoxi's nose moved, and her rat face was full of intoxication. Yi Junlin waved his hand, and exquisite tea sets appeared on the table. Xiaoxi, let's make tea. Then, the master and apprentice began to make tea. When the rich tea fragrance overflowed from the tea, Hong Chenny, who was far away under the sycamore tree, frowned, then suddenly opened his eyes, and a look of surprise flashed across his face. Swish, he quickly got up and flashed away, just in time to see Yi Junlin holding up the teacup. Yi Junlin took a light sip, the tea fragrance filled his lips and teeth, and the tea went straight down his throat into his stomach, and he felt that his internal organs were much more transparent. Good tea, Yi Junlin exclaimed. Noticing Hong Chenny standing stupidly on the side, Yi Junlin couldn't help but tease, "My good disciple, what's wrong with you?" Hong Chenny's face was very nervous. Is this the enlightenment tea? That's right. After receiving this answer, Hong Chenny's forehead seemed to be struck by thunder, and shock appeared in his eyes. This kind of tea is extremely rare, and often a small handful of tea can cause competition among the top forces in the central region. In the central region, there is a famous Lingyun immortal. It is rumored that his strength is unfathomable and he is one of the very few and oldest immortals in the lower world. His greatest hobby in life is to cultivate spiritual tea, and in his tea garden, there is an ancient enlightenment tea tree. Every 50,000 years, the enlightenment tea tree will mature, and then Lingyun immortal will pick the tea leaves and then release a limited number of places to the public. No matter whether it is the immortals of the righteous way or the demon way, as long as they get the quota, they are eligible to taste the tea. Hong Chenny got the opportunity to taste tea by chance because of good luck. That time, the experience was simply unforgettable. Therefore, Hong Chenny was so excited when he smelled the familiar tea fragrance. Yi Junlin picked up the purple clay teapot, poured a cup for this black-bellied traitor, and said generously, "Come, try it." Anyway, it was given by Tongzi, so drink it freely. Thank you, master, for the tea. Hong Chenny was delighted, holding the teacup respectfully and taking a sip tentatively. The next second, Hong Chenny widened his eyes and stared at the cup of tea in his hand in disbelief. Just now, he clearly felt that his state of mind had changed, and he had a deeper understanding of the Tao. The most important thing is that this is much different from the enlightenment tea he drank at the beginning. Compared with this time, the last time I drank it was simply incomparable. The spiritual tea cultivated by Lingyun Shangxian was directly turned into dregs in seconds. Resisting his excitement, Hong Chenny picked up the teacup and drank it all, feeling elated all over, and no words in the world could describe the taste of this tea. All the things that happened before turned into new insights. Hong Chenny closed his eyes and slowly rose. What's going on? Why is this kid still floating? Yi Junlin asked in surprise. Boom! Hong Chenny's aura suddenly exploded, and his cultivation level broke through from the perfect Mahayana to the early stage of the tribulation. This is not over yet, his cultivation level is still rising, from the early stage, the middle stage, the late stage, and then to the peak. His black hair was dancing like a waterfall, and his eye-catching red clothes were fluttering in the wind. It was a face that looked like a god, almost transcending all the colors in the world. His white skin was crystal clear, and his beautiful collarbone drew a beautiful curve. Swish! Hong Chenny opened his eyes, and his blood-red pupils revealed a bit of evil, as if he would fall into depravity if he looked at him for a second longer. The scarlet flame mark between his eyebrows was shining. What's wrong with this? Li Wuji rushed over in a hurry. When he saw Hong Chenny's cultivation level, he stood there like a petrified person, stunned. In just a blink of an eye, you, senior brother, have already broken through the tribulation. And you've even reached the peak of the tribulation. Do you really need to be so ambitious? Chapter 103. C-103. A good teacher produces a good student. Hong Chenny felt the power surge in his body, a strong sense of self-confidence climbed up his heart, the corners of his mouth rose wildly, and then he raised his head and laughed loudly. At this rate, becoming an immortal is just around the corner. This seat will be invincible. What the hell are you laughing at? Bang! After being slapped on the back of his head, his devilish laughter was interrupted. Hong Chenny's anger surged in his heart. He turned his head suddenly, his eyes boiling with murderous intent. You. Only to see Yi Junlin smiling. You have an opinion, right? After a few seconds of staring at each other, he suddenly thought of a possibility. Hong Chenny couldn't help but shudder, the murderous intent in his eyes faded instantly, and a fear surged in his heart. He was so scared that he quickly knelt on one knee and clasped his fists, and said in a trembling voice, "Disciple did not intend to bump into me, please forgive me, master." Just kidding, almost caused a disaster. I still remember the old bald donkey before. He was at the same level as me, and his physical defense was almost invincible, but he was still blown up by this guy with one punch. What's more, the other party might have concealed his cultivation. In this unknown situation, it would be a death wish to tear his face rashly. He still remembered the painful experience in Xuantian sect last time. The cunningness of this person was far beyond imagination. Therefore, I have to continue to endure it unless it is absolutely necessary. After all, I have reached the peak of the tribulation. How far is it from becoming an immortal? I can't be confused at this critical moment. Looking at the almost flawless and unreal face in front of him, Yi Junlin stretched out his hand, gently lifted the other's chin, looked directly into the pair of breathtaking eyes, and exclaimed. Zhao Hong, you have become more beautiful. Such a frivolous move, if it was put in the past, Hong Chenny would definitely be intolerable, and he would defend his dignity even if it meant the end of the world, but now, for the sake of the overall situation, he couldn't bear it and had to bear it. Thank you master for your compliment. Yi Junlin let go of his hand as if nothing had happened, and continued to pour tea with the purple clay teapot. Get up, be careful next time. Yes. Hong Chenny secretly breathed a sigh of relief and slowly stood up. Master, let me ask you a question, how much enlightenment tea do you have left? He carefully inquired about the details. Because the enlightenment tea I just drank is really indescribable in words, and the effect of sudden enlightenment is hundreds of times stronger than that of Lingyun Shangxian. I really don't know how much enlightenment tea of this quality is left in the world. It should be just a little bit, right? Here, it's all here. Yi Junlin picked up the large can of enlightenment tea and threw it to Hong Chenny. Hong Chenny subconsciously took it and looked down. Boom! Hong Chenny felt that his head almost exploded, dizzy, his eyeballs almost burst out of his sockets, and his mouth opened incredibly wide. What did he see? A big can of enlightenment tea leaves. This quantity is definitely by the pound. In the past, a few pieces of enlightenment tea leaves were what many people wanted, but here there is a whole can full of them. Is it really that exaggerated? Hong Chenny's hands were shaking, and he swallowed hard. If this were thrown into the central region, it would definitely trigger a large-scale immortal war. It would be a scene of the collapse of the sky and the crack of the earth, like the end of the world. Perhaps it was a psychological effect. Hong Chenny only felt that the teacan in his hand became extremely heavy, and a trace of sweat overflowed from his forehead. Why are you holding the can? Do you still want to drink tea? Yi Junlin was a little confused. Why did this traitor look so stimulated? Drink, I drink. Hong Chenny carefully put down the tea can, and then stood properly, waiting for the master to give tea. When he took the teacup again and tasted it, there was no special change this time, because the effect of enlightenment tea is to make the tea drinker realize it, so as to achieve a rapid breakthrough. As Hong Chenny was once a true immortal, the effect would be more significant, but there would be no further progress in a short time. Even so, tasting this quality of enlightenment tea also made Hong Chenny feel a kind of enjoyment from the heart. Yi Junlin looked at the middle-aged man standing stupidly in front of him, and waved unhappily. Xiao Li, why are you standing there stupidly? Come and taste it. Li Wuji came back to his senses and nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Okay, okay. He was not blind, and he could see that senior brother Hong had such a rapid breakthrough, and the credit was all due to the tea that the master took out. Immediately, he went over and watched the silver-haired young man pour the tea. The strong tea fragrance filled the air, intoxicating his mind. Thank you, master, for the tea. Li Wuji was full of energy, and solemnly picked up the teacup, gulping it down like drinking boiled water, which was the style of a rough man. Hong Chenny showed disdain on her face. Do you know what tea tasting is? At this time, after Li Wuji finished drinking the tea, his body shook, and his eyes suddenly widened, as if his whole body and mind were cleansed, and the whole person entered a mysterious state. Boom! Soon, Li Wuji's mind was opened, and his aura was like a sword out of its sheath, showing its sharpness, and his sword intent was extremely refined. He made a big step forward in the way of swordsmanship. At the same time, his cultivation level also increased. From the late Mahayana, the peak, the perfection, he broke through to the early stage of the tribulation. Li Wuji's hair was flying wildly, and his pupils were full of sword intent, so sharp that it was difficult to look directly at him. Feeling the sudden surge of power in his body, his inner confidence instantly expanded extremely. The tribulation realm, I actually broke through the tribulation. Li Wuji's heart was surging, and he threw up his head and laughed heartily. The laughter was full of heroism. Ah ha 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 ha. Snap! Li Wuji was slapped hard on the back of his head, his laughter was cut off immediately, and an impatient scolding sounded in his ears. You are so ridiculous. You're riding a horse. Li Wuji's head was spinning. After he regained his composure, his tiger eyes shot out a cold light that cracked the sky. His big hand subconsciously grasped the handle of the knife at his waist, intending to draw the knife to kill someone. However, after meeting the eyes of the young man in front of him, all the anger in his heart disappeared, his face changed from anger to fear, and he fell to the ground with a plop on his knees. Master, I was wrong. Li Wuji felt extremely regretful. He was really lost just now, and he dared to be so disrespectful to his master. Why am I riding a horse? Yi Junlin asked with a smile. Li Wuji had an idea and whispered, You are so handsome when riding a horse. This powerful and ferocious sword demon was submissive at this time, fearing that the young man in front of him would be punished by him. Yi Junlin shook his head. Although what you said is true, you should pay attention to the occasion next time you go crazy and get up. Thank you, master. Li Wuji wiped his cold sweat and exhaled. Hong Chenny suppressed her smile and felt gloating in her heart. Hey, Xiaoxi, why are you distracted? Yi Junlin noticed the petite figure next to him and didn't react in a daze. Suddenly, with a bang, a powerful aura erupted from Bai Xiaoxi's body, and her cultivation soared to the late stage of transcending the tribulation. Its skin was as white as jade, its temperament was ethereal, its jewel-like eyes gradually returned to clarity, its delicate and innocent mouse face was a little at a loss, and it said blankly, What happened to Shushu just now? Turning to look at Yi Junlin, Bai Xiaoxi said excitedly, Master, this tea is delicious. Senior sister Bai, your cultivation. Li Wuji felt a little frustrated inside, but he was still left behind. Hong Chenny narrowed her eyes slightly, feeling a strong sense of crisis in her heart. Is this silly mouse so savvy? His cultivation is almost catching up with him. Wait a minute, are we still missing one? Yi Junlin noticed something and frowned. Li Wuji slapped his head. It's the fourth junior brother. Where is that kid hiding? Bring him here, let's have fun. Yi Junlin said angrily. Okay. Li Wuji immediately set off and disappeared from the spot. 2 seconds later, he returned to the starting point again, holding a black mushroom half a person's height in his hand. The big mushroom king fell to the ground and felt very confused. He didn't realize what happened yet, but when he saw everyone staring at it, panic emerged in his heart. You. Xiaohei, come and try it too. Yi Junlin took the teapot and poured it on the mushroom head, and the tea was fully absorbed. The big mushroom king resisted at first, but after absorbing the tea, his body became motionless and his mind entered a mysterious state. His understanding of the exercises has risen to several levels. At the same time, his cultivation level also skyrocketed. Boom! From the golden elixir to the nascent soul, then to the transformation of the spirit, to the integration, it only stopped when it reached Mahayana perfection. As the most distant elixir, as well as practicing the Qing Emperor immortality art, and with the assistance of the best enlightenment tea, it is easy for the big mushroom king to break through the cultivation level. Seeing this scene, Li Wuji secretly said, it's okay. There are 4 junior brothers at the bottom. As a senior brother, I have a decent reputation. The big mushroom king felt the earth-shaking changes in his body, and was so frightened that his spirit fluctuated intermittently, this. Given its character, it didn't swell immediately, but instead felt frightened. Yi Junlin clicked his tongue in surprise. Good guys, why did you all break through? Why didn't he make any movement at all after he drank the tea? Is it because he has poor understanding? Yi Junlin was puzzled, but in the end he shrugged, feeling relieved. Forget it, it doesn't matter, I don't need to practice anyway. At this moment, the system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding! In view of the rapid breakthrough of the host's disciples' cultivation level, he has now achieved the achievement of a famous teacher, and the reward. Chapter 104. C-104 Check-in at the Hanging Temple. Ding! In view of the rapid breakthrough of the host's disciples' cultivation level, he has now achieved the achievement of a famous teacher and will be rewarded with a 9th grade mysterious weapon, Kang Yuan Sword. Close black lens bracket. Kang Yuan Sword, a mysterious and ancient flying sword, possessing unimaginable terrifying power. It will improve its own quality according to the user's realm. Yi Junlin looked strange. Does this unlock the famous teacher achievement? It seemed like I was just drinking tea and blowing water with them. However, this Kang Yuan Sword seems to be pretty awesome. If you have a chance, you can try it out. The next higher level of 9th grade profound weapons are immortal weapons, which is enough to prove how powerful this Kang Yuan Sword is. Xiaohei, you are now in the Mahayana realm, why don't you quickly turn into a human form and let me see you? Yi Junlin thought of something and ordered. Everyone looked at it, all curious. The big mushroom king said cautiously, yes, but I prefer to maintain my true form. Yi Junlin said angrily, Master, I just want to take a look. The rest of the time, you can do whatever you want. Don't you even give me Master's face. Okay. The big mushroom king suppressed his nervousness and began to cast a spell to transform. Aha! With the shining of milky white light, a boy-like figure appeared. He has a standard pot head, thick eyebrows and big eyes, skin as dark as chocolate, the fingers of his hands are intertwined, he does not dare to look up and look directly at people, he looks very embarrassed and uneasy. So that's it. Yi Junlin looked up and down curiously. 4th junior brother, we are not outsiders here, you don't have to be so nervous. Li Wuji said with a smile. The big mushroom king stared blankly at the middle-aged man, thinking of the way he chewed golden ginseng just now, he became even more timid and quickly took a few steps back. Li Wuji touched his nose, feeling a little embarrassed. The big mushroom king changed back again, and felt much better. Because in its mushroom form, it feels more at home and feels safer. Xiao Li, let's leave the photo ball on you. Yi Junlin asked. Don't worry, Master, I'll take good care of it. Okay, then let's go to Shuangkong Temple. I'm going to ask for an explanation from these bald donkeys. Hear the words. Li Wuji was stunned at first, and then became excited. Any monk who was born and raised in the eastern region knows how important the Shuangkong Temple is. It is the supreme holy place for all meditation and is ranked among the top 5 existences among the 10 immortal sects. And his master actually wanted to come to find trouble in person. It was hard to imagine what would happen. Hong Chenny has never had a good impression of Buddhists and Taoists. When she heard that Yi Junlin was going to Shuangkong Temple, she immediately became interested. Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering a new mission, please go to Hanging Temple to complete the sign-in, and you will get great rewards. Close black lens bracket. The system prompt sounds. Yi Junlin sighed. The one who knows me is Tongzi. Ding! The host is so good at talking, I love it. Close black lens bracket. Afterwards, Kunpeng changed direction and headed to Florida, one of the 13 states in the eastern region. Kunpeng's speed was very fast, especially when he was fed pet animal food on the way. His cultivation level broke through to the realm of transcending tribulation, and all aspects of his body were significantly improved. Now it is a genuine void immortal level mount. Looking at the 5 major domains, they are all extremely explosive existences. Because in the general understanding, as long as the immortal has not emerged, the tribulation realm is the ceiling of combat power. Possessing the terrifying power of destroying the world is an important foundation for any top force. Moreover, it is rare for a powerful person of this level to be very arrogant and willing to obey others, let alone take the initiative to be a mount. The clouds and mists were billowing, and Kunpeng was flying with lightning speed, and soon entered the Florida area. Florida is the world of meditation in the eastern region, and the status of meditation is the highest. Every country or sect here is deeply influenced by Buddhism, and monks can be seen everywhere. Even an ordinary citizen can memorize a Buddhist scripture for you and have a simple understanding of reincarnation and cause and effect. Master, according to the map, we have arrived at the far west of Florida. It is a relatively remote location, a long way from the central part of the Shuangkong Temple. Li Wuji said seriously while holding the parchment. Yi Junlin nodded and released the boundless spread of his spiritual consciousness. Mountains, rivers, woods, birds and animals, as well as villages with smoke coming from cooking fires along the way, all the subtle changes in this place are under his control. Yi Junlin was surprised to find that Florida deserves to be called Florida. Every inch of space here is soaked in Buddhism, and there is an indescribable Zen charm everywhere. Suddenly, 300 miles away, a special situation caught his attention. A group of Zen monks with bare chests, strong muscles and wearing yellow monk robes burned, killed and looted wantonly in a certain city. The local officers and soldiers tried to stop them, but were beaten to death. Many young and beautiful women could not escape the clutches of the devil. The scenes at the scene were unsightly, and cries and begging for mercy could be heard everywhere. Mother, a 6-year-old child with a frightened face was dragged away by a tall and fierce monk. The child's mother knelt on the ground and begged with tears not to take her child away. However, the monk smashed her child with a staff. Bolognese. You monster monks, you will be punished. A middle-aged man roared angrily and picked up the weapon in his hand to resist. However, a monk punched his head and his body with a broken neck fell in a pool of blood. My Buddha is compassionate. The leader was a burly middle-aged monk with a skull on his neck and scars all over his face. He chanted the Buddha's name with one hand raised to his chest and his eyes closed. Stop, you Shuangkong Mountain are too presumptuous. This is the land of the Lishan Kingdom, how can we allow you to do evil here? City Lord Murong led the elite troops and charged forward menacingly. Along the way, Murong's city lord slashed with his sword, and the sword energy surged freely. Many monks were killed along the way. Aha! The middle-aged monk opened his eyes, a ball of light burst out from his eyes, his belly was sunken and his chest suddenly swelled, and then he opened his mouth and let out a roar. Rumble. The sound waves visible to the naked eye swept across like a hurricane, causing City Lord Murong and the others to retreat repeatedly. Many soldiers vomited blood and screamed in agony. Murong's City Lord suppressed the surge of energy and blood in his body and said fearfully, Monk, I have reported this matter to my superiors. Reinforcements will come to the rescue soon. I advise you to leave quickly, otherwise you will be responsible for the consequences. The middle-aged monk said coldly, Reinforcements? Does your king dare to offend me, Shuangkong Mountain? This benefactor, on the other hand, has repeatedly opposed the poor monk. The poor monk's patience is limited. You bastards, you Shuangkongshan bully people too much. Every few years, you kidnap boys and girls from all over the country. Recently, it has become more and more frequent. It has caused public resentment and made the people miserable. Have you ever thought about the consequences? Murong's city lord scolded angrily. It's good, it's good. Those children have a predestined relationship with Buddhism and have wisdom. Under the guidance of the great and compassionate mountain master, they will go to the pure land of Western Paradise as soon as possible. You, an ordinary person, would be committing a heinous crime to stop them. The middle-aged monk said grandly. Murong's city master laughed angrily, Bullshit mountain master. It's just an evil beast wearing a cassock. How dare you talk about Buddhism? To put it bluntly, it just wants to satisfy your appetite. Those children you kidnapped must all end up in its belly. Are you there? It is a truly heinous crime for you as a human being to be driven by it and to allow it to do such a shameless thing. These words undoubtedly stimulated the other party. The middle-aged monk became furious in an instant. His hands wrapped with cloth clenched into fists, and a blazing light bloomed in his fists, making his eyes extremely bright. Immediately, he fired the Arhat fist and rushed straight to Morong City Lord with great momentum. The sound shook the sky with murderous intent. How bold! How dare you insult the Mountain Lord! You must pay the price for these words and deeds today. Chapter 105, C-105 Hanging Mountain. Hanging Temple. Boom! There was a big explosion in the air, and the surging air waves were shocking. The middle-aged monk's fists were as fierce as the wind and rain. Swish, swish, City Lord Morong held a long sword in his hand to attack. The shadow of the sword was dazzling, and the sword wind was extremely sharp. Both sides were at nascent soul cultivation level, so the fight was inseparable. Donor, the poor monk advises you not to make a mistake. As long as you gather 800 boys and girls, you can keep this city safe in the next few years, and your position as the lord of the city can also be secure. Otherwise, the poor monk will have to wait for a long time. If you fail to pay your dues, the mountain owner will definitely be furious and punish you, Lashan country. The middle-aged monk said coldly, think about the fate of the previous city lords before you. The people are like ants, why do you care about the life and death of the ants? Morong City Lord scolded, here's nonsense. If I were afraid of you Shuangkong Mountain, would I still come to take up the position of city lord? You are a Buddhist, but you have fallen to this level, you are worse than a pig or a dog. If you are stubborn, this poor monk will save the benefactor. The middle-aged monk said with protruding veins on his forehead and a distorted face as he gritted his teeth. The fist was wrapped in a golden ball of light, and it was punched out like a swimming dragon. The fist marks were crisscrossed and overwhelming. Bo sword technique. Morong City Lord flipped his wrist, the sword shadows were layered, and the sword intention turned into a continuous stream of water, using softness to overcome hardness. The two fought fiercely. City Lord, let me help you. A roar like thunder sounded. There was a burly man wearing jet black armor and rushing over with a copper hammer in each hand, a murderous look on his face. Commander Yang, you came just in time. City Lord Morong said excitedly. The visitor is the commander of the Imperial Guards of the City Lord's palace. Although the other party's cultivation level is slightly inferior to his, he can play a vital role at this juncture. After Commander Yang joined, the battle situation immediately reversed, and the middle-aged monk was suppressed to death. Monk, you're going to be captured if you don't hesitate. Morong City Lord shouted. Donor Yang, how long do you want to hide? The middle-aged monk said with a calm expression and a meaningful tone. Commander Yang's eyes burst out with a bright light, and he hit the right time to hit Lord Morong on the back. Bang! Morong City Lord flew out and knocked down many houses, falling heavily into the ruins with dust rising all around. His face was in pain, and he stood with difficulty holding his sword, spitting out blood, mixed with broken internal organs. Mr. Yang, you, City Lord Morong gritted his teeth and glared angrily at this man who was usually bold and hardy, caring about love and righteousness. He felt betrayed and angry in his heart. Two figures fell in front of him. Amitabha, Donor Morong looked surprised. The middle-aged monk clasped his hands together and said mockingly. Morong Hai, you are seeking your own death because you have to go against the eminent monk of Shuangkong Mountain. Commander Yang took off his disguise and sneered. You secretly colluded with Shuangkong Mountain to kill the lord of a city. If the court investigates you, you will not be able to escape your involvement. Morong City Lord said angrily. Ha ha ha, you are so naive. Lashan country has long been infiltrated by the forces of Shuangkong Mountain. Even the leader of the country has to turn a blind eye. A stubborn guy like you insists on doing justice for heaven. If the mountain owner of Shuangkong Mountain is blamed for ruining his good deeds, how much disaster will it cause to Lashan country? Commander Yang sneered and said, to tell you the truth, the previous city lords were killed by me and Shuangkongshan because of their stubbornness, but until now, no one from the court has found out about me. Guess why? Quote. Hear the words. City Lord Morong was extremely frightened when he thought about it carefully. It turns out that this was all agreed upon, and he was just a victim. Donor Morong, the poor monk has warned you a long time ago, but you insist on going against Shuangkong Mountain, and you still speak harshly to the poor monk, and even slander the mountain owner. Based on this, your death is not unjust. Morong Hai, commit suicide. This is the only decent way for you to die. I hope the next city lord can have a longer memory. At this time, Morong City Lord was heartbroken. He raised the sword with his trembling right hand and placed it across his neck. Blood dripped along the blade. Just when he was about to commit suicide, a thunderous rumble suddenly came from the sky. In an instant, a majestic and terrifying pressure swept over, and everyone felt a kind of fear from the heart, as if even their souls were trembling. Throughout the city, the noisy voices fell into silence. The group of extremely vicious demon monks were frightened, and they knelt down and trembled. A huge creature that looked like a giant whale, with wings like clouds hanging from the sky, flew over on the mighty air current. A loud voice came out of his mouth, and it was extremely high-pitched and resounded through the sky. Then, is that the supreme demon in the tribulation realm? The middle-aged monk and Commander Yang turned pale with shock, feeling as if they had fallen into an ice cellar and feeling cold all over their bodies. Those who have reached the realm of transcending tribulations are respected as virtual immortals. Beings who have reached this realm are comparable to the sun and the moon, and possess magical powers that reach the heavens and the earth. And this big monster, if it wants, can directly swallow the entire Lashan kingdom alive. Could this be Kunpeng? A flash of extreme shock flashed in Marong City Lord's eyes, and he recognized this creature as the king of the demon clan, an ancient mythical beast that was rumored to have disappeared in the Kunlun world. Kun, eat all the bald donkeys underneath. A young man's voice came from Kunpeng. Boom, everyone was struck by lightning. This great demon in the tribulation realm is actually the mount of a certain senior. A virtual immortal level mount. What a joke. Kunpeng opened his huge abyss-like mouth and sucked hard at what was underneath. Many people were surprised to find that they had no influence at all, but the group of monks in yellow flew away uncontrollably, exclaiming with frightened faces. Spare your life, senior, please spare your life. The middle-aged monk looked horrified, and his body was sucked into the sky. Even if he tried hard to resist, it was of no avail. In the shocked eyes of everyone, these demonic monks, who were inferior to animals, fell into the abyss and were buried in Kunpeng's belly. Kunpeng was suspended in the vast sky, blocking out the sun and making most of the city dark. Commander Yang was stunned, the blood in his body seemed to be frozen, and his whole body was shaking like chaff. He felt unprecedented fear. City Lord Marong was shaken and swallowed saliva. This was a scene he would never forget in his life. Aha! The two of them suddenly felt like the world was spinning, and when they appeared again they had been taken to Kunpeng's back. What comes into view is a beautiful scene that looks like a holiday island. A young man wearing a black robe embroidered with gold, with long silver-white hair scattered wantonly and sparkling at the roots, sat lazily on a chair, holding his head with one hand and a bohemian smile at the corner of his mouth. There were several figures standing around, obviously respecting him. Tell me, what happened here? Why did those bald donkeys burn, kill, and rob? Senior, I am the lord of Wuchang City of Lashan Kingdom. The group of monster monks just now are minions of Shuangkong Mountain. This time they came specially to kidnap 800 boys and girls for the enjoyment of the Lord of Shuangkong Mountain. City Lord Marong suppressed the panic in his heart and said tremblingly. Shuangkong Mountain. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. Does this name have anything to do with Shuangkong Temple? Tell me the origin of this hanging temple. Yes. City Lord Marong saw that the big boss was interested and said quickly, Shuangkong Mountain was established 200 years ago in the far west. On the surface, it is a Buddhist force, but in fact it is controlled by evildoers. The owner of Shuangkong Mountain is rumored to be a black bear spirit, with 4 great Vajras under his seat, all of the demon clan, commanding 48,000 little demons. Moreover, the black bear spirit also aggressively recruits desperados who are wanted with bounties on it, under the banner of laying down the butcher's knife and becoming a Buddha immediately. Entering its hanging mountain can achieve Taoism and fruition. Therefore, in recent years, it has attracted a large number of Zen practitioners from various countries with ulterior motives. Rush to Shuangkong Mountain to seek shelter. Later on, every few years, Shuangkong Mountain would send people to various places to search for boys and girls. The 36 countries in the far west, including my Lashan country, were all poisoned to varying degrees, especially this time. The actions in Shuangkong Mountain are becoming more and more frequent, and the group of demon monks who have taken refuge in Shuangkong Mountain are running rampant and doing all kinds of things that are against Buddhism under the guise of working for the mountain master. Hear the words. Li Wuji was very angry. Fuck, these scum, they actually went to work for the beasts. Yi Junlin's eyes flickered. After so many years, the 36 countries have allowed Shuangkong Mountain to cause chaos here. Have you never thought of uniting to resist? This Lashan country is also an ancient country of cultivation. Although it is not as good as the Great Zhou dynasty, its background is probably barely enough. If the 36 countries unite and twist into a rope, this power will be very impressive. Hey, senior, guess what? Why did that black bear spirit stand on the top of the mountain and call it Hanging Mountain? The answer is already obvious. City Lord Morong said bitterly, I have a background. Chapter 106. C-106 Who is the devil? Oh, you mean it has something to do with the Shuangkong Temple? Yi Junlin sat up straight and said with interest. Morong City Lord nodded and said, yes, it is said that the Black Bear spirit was enlightened by the abbot of Shuangkong Temple in his early years, listened to Buddhist teachings, and received incense offerings. Later, he somehow sneaked out and stood on the mountain on his own. I pity the children who have been mutilated over the years. It was obviously a black bear raised by his old man, but in the end it was the innocent children's turn to suffer. Countries are also afraid of the black bear's background, so they can only swallow their anger. Quote. Of course, during this period, the king sent envoys to the central part one after another, hoping to find the abbot of Shuangkong Temple to take away the black bear spirit, but in the end there was no news, and even the envoys did not come back. Something must have happened. Because there are no restrictions, Shuangkong Mountain has become a cancer in the far west. All criminals who are wanted for breaking the law will eventually run away and seek refuge in Shuangkong Mountain. Over time, it has become a pure land for criminals from all over the world. To this day, we have no effective method. We can only rely on our passion to deal with them as much as possible. After listening to City Lord Morong's words, everyone knew the situation in this place very well. HMPH, according to the pissing habits of those bald donkeys, they must have turned a blind eye to the evil done by their abbot. In addition, the monks below were afraid that this matter would spread and damage the Shuangkong Temple reputation, so I simply took action secretly to make those messengers disappear from this world. Quote. Hong Chenny hated people in Buddhism deeply. She saw the opportunity at this moment, folded her hands in front of her chest, and spoke her opinion smoothly. It makes sense. Yi Junlin agreed with this statement. Considering that the master Ran Dang he met before dared to silence him in order to vent his anger, so according to the internal style of Shuangkong Temple, this possibility cannot be ruled out. Hong Chenny was stunned, and then she felt proud, and the corners of her mouth slightly raised unnoticeably. I am talented and intelligent, even you have to admit it, right? City Lord Morong was shocked by this statement and did not dare to continue. After all, the Shuangkong Temple is the top power in Florida, with many auras above its head. It is the holy land of Buddhism in the eastern region. There are various legends about slaying demons and exorcising wrong souls, and it is the favorite material for storytellers to compile. In the eyes of outsiders, Shuangkong Temple is the light of Buddhism's righteous path, and the abbot of Shuangkong Temple is the spiritual leader of meditation in the world. How can there be room for the irresponsible remarks of others? At first, City Lord Morong really had this suspicion, but he just dared to keep it in his stomach. After all, there are a certain number of Zen practitioners in each country, and the practitioners basically focus on Zen. Therefore, even the king does not dare to talk about the hanging temple for fear of causing huge disputes and shaking his rule. Yi Junlin's gaze rested on the side of Morong City Lord. Commander Yang, who was dripping with cold sweat and trembling with his head lowered, stretched out his finger and pointed with a playful smile. This person seems to be in collusion with Shuangkong Mountain. Yes, this bitch secretly colluded with Shuangkongshan and killed several previous city lords of Wechang. If seniors hadn't appeared in time, I would have followed suit. City Lord Morong held up his sword and glared at the burly man next to him, with a look on his face. Hated. Commander Yang was so frightened that he knelt on the ground, kowtowed and begged for mercy. Senior, have mercy on me, I was just confused for a moment. Yi Junlin sneered. If I'm not wrong, that black bear spirit is going to do something, otherwise it will send people to kidnap children frequently these days. Commander Yang hesitated and said, yes, it is the mountain master. Oh no, it is that damn beast. There is a big birthday party coming soon, so the tasks assigned to the people below are a bit heavy. For a small city, you want 800 boys and girls. How many children will the entire Lashan country lose? In addition, there are 35 other countries. How huge is the total number? The evil you have done in Shuangkong Mountain is really serious. Morong City Lord scolded angrily. I'm crazy, but it's not my fault. Shuangkong Mountain's power is too huge, and its background is so tough. Who dares to provoke it in the entire far west? That's why I, Commander Yang argued. Yi Junlin shook his head and flicked his fingers. Aha! Commander Yang felt as if he was being ejected, the wind howling in his ears, and then he saw Kunpeng open his big mouth and forcefully suck him in. Ah! Screams echoed in his mouth, and then silence fell. For Kunpeng, this is a snack given by his master. Do you know where Shuangkong Mountain is? Reporting back to Senior, it is thousands of miles away in the southwest. It was originally called Jingjie Ridge. After it was occupied by that black bear spirit, it was renamed Shuangkong Mountain. Yi Junlin nodded, okay, I'll go take a look later. Upon hearing this, City Lord Murong was extremely excited and said, thank you, Senior, for taking the initiative. Saving all the people from the fire and water. You are truly a good person. Your merits are immeasurable. With this big boss taking action, Shuangkongshan still has troubles. A kind man. Yi Junlin couldn't help laughing when he heard this comment. He just thought that when he went to Shuangkong Temple, he could bring some special greeting gifts. Most importantly, he was curious about what steamed bear paws tasted like. Suddenly, City Lord Murong tentatively said, may I ask this senior's surname? Xuantian sect, Yi Junlin. It turns out to be Senior Yi. Wait a minute. City Lord Murong was about to say a few compliments, but then he suddenly reacted as if his forehead was struck by thunder, and his eyes suddenly widened. You. Let's go. Yi Junlin waved his sleeves, and a great force of magic enveloped him, teleporting the man below in the blink of an eye, and healing his injuries at the same time. Akun, turn around and go to Shuangkong Mountain. Kunpeng let out a joyful cry and rode the mighty air current into the sky. The pressure that shrouded Wuchang gradually disappeared, and the people felt much better now, with awe on their faces. City Lord Murong stood on the ruins, looking blankly. City Lord Murong couldn't believe it. The handsome young man who came to help them was the white-haired old devil who was famous for his evil reputation a while ago and was known as the god of killing. This is completely opposite to the image spread in Florida. Ever since Shuangkong Temple suffered a loss in that expedition, they have been more aggressive in smearing and demonizing Yi Junlin. Mentioning him must be associated with all negative terms. Now he has become a household name in Florida. Even for example, which child is disobedient, the adults will scare him and say that the leaf devil will come to eat you at night. In this public opinion environment, Murong's city lord was also influenced by what others said, thinking that Yi Junlin of the Xuantian sect was bloodthirsty, ruthless, and crazy about blood. But I never expected that the senior who helped Wuchang today would be him. And without knowing anything about it, he actually praised the other party as a good person. City Lord Murong wanted to laugh, but couldn't. He felt a very absurd and sad feeling in his heart. The Shuangkong Temple, which used to be known as the Holy Land of Buddhism and rescued people in distress, ignored the life and death of the people here and allowed the black bear spirit to do whatever they wanted, but the Yi demon who had been smeared and slandered was willing to take the initiative to help them solve their difficulties. The contrast between the two reputations formed a strong contrast, creating a huge impact that shattered Murong's city lord's inherent knowledge. Murong's city lord's eyes were red, his nose was sore, and 2 lines of tears fell down his face, and he murmured, in the end who was the devil? A few seconds later, Murong's city master lost control of his emotions and shouted to the sky, as if questioning the aloof Buddha. Buddha, who was the devil? The men who rushed over were stunned. City Lord, you. They were shocked by the unusual behavior of this respected city lord. City Lord Murong gradually calmed down, then pointed in the direction where Kunpeng was leaving, bowed deeply with both hands. Nothing was said, but it seemed like everything was said. Chapter 107. C-107 The Black Bear Demon is Scared. The endless black cliffs, the mountains standing tall like a knife and an axe, winding and circling, majestic and majestic. But if you go deeper, you will see more and more terrifying scenes that subvert your 3 views. If a timid person sees it for the first time, he may be so frightened that he will pee and urinate, and fall straight to the ground and vomit. Foam. I saw piles of skeletons on both sides, with a carpet made of human skin in the middle. The mud was mixed with human flesh and blood. Bloody human sinews hung upside down on the tree trunks, floating in the wind from time to time. The air is filled with the pungent smell of blood. Compared with the spring scenery outside, this place is simply a dark hell. Along the way, little demons can be seen everywhere. It can be said that the demonic aura is soaring into the sky and the demonic mist is filling the air. But the most unusual thing is that this group of strange-looking goblins are actually wearing a variety of monk robes and wearing Buddhist beads on their wrists. They imitate the behavior of monks in an orderly manner. When they meet and deal with each other, they still talk about Amitabha. Say a few words about what the Buddha said. At first glance, it seems very novel, but combined with this eerie and scary environment, it immediately makes people feel a strong discomfort and feels fear from the bottom of their hearts. And here is Hanging Mountain. In the valley, The white human skulls are piled up like a hill, and there is a huge black bear sitting cross-legged like a human on it, with a golden tight spell on its forehead, its dark hair is shiny, and it is also wearing an oversized bright red cassock. Close your eyes and meditate like an old monk in meditation. There are incense burners and cigarette smoke hanging around, and combined with the environment here, it feels nondescript and weird. Mountain Master, according to your instructions, the disciples have gone to various countries to lobby. I believe that for the birthday banquet in 5 days, we will be able to gather 66,666 boys and girls. A figure wearing colorful feathers appeared, with a few chicken feathers on his forehead and a sharp beak. He clasped his hands together and said respectfully, "Its body is a colorful chicken king. There is also an identity, one of the 4 King Kongs of Hanging Mountain." At this time, the black bear spirit was indifferent, as motionless as a clay sculpture, sitting in the temple as if he had transformed into a Buddha statue, receiving incense and offerings. The colorful rooster king understands this and will retreat on his own. Suddenly, another burly figure that looked like an iron tower appeared. The monk's robe was opened wide at the chest, revealing a strong chest. There were curved sharp horns on his forehead, a nose ring in his nostrils, and his skin was as red as magma and was indestructible. The deep sound was like spring thunder, making the gravel on the ground shake. "Mountain Master, there is news that all the monk soldiers who attacked Wuchang of Lishan Kingdom were wiped out. It is said that a flying behemoth appeared in the sky at that time. It opened its mouth and swallowed all the monk soldiers, and then flew away. This is the Red Ox King, the first of the 4 Vajras." Amitabha, the black bear spirit slowly opened his eyes, and there was a sparkle in his eyes that made people dare not look directly. He said in a neither sad nor happy tone, "Is it possible that there are other great monsters in this far west land?" "Mountain Master, I guess not. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th children and I have been here for thousands of years, and we know this place very well. Before you came, we were each kings, and our cultivation level was the highest. And there is no I've seen other big monsters here." The Red Ox King exhaled 2 streams of white air from his nostrils and said in a deep voice, "Oh, I think it's a foreign demon. It's not from our local area." The colorful chicken king crowed out of habit and said seriously, 200 years ago, the 4 demon kings divided their territories respectively, and this had lasted for thousands of years. It was not until the black bear spirit appeared that the 4 demon kings were taken under their command and transformed into the 4 King Kongs. The black bear spirit said coldly, "According to what you said, even if that behemoth is an alien demon, why did it specifically target the monk soldiers? Instead of directly devouring the entire city's people on a whim. This is clearly against me, Shuangkong Mountain." Quote, "Yes, you are really blind. How dare you offend Shuangkong Mountain?" the colorful chicken king said angrily. Since the establishment of Shuangkong Mountain, the integration of the demon clan forces in the far west and the absorption of Zen practice from various countries can be said to have an extremely strong foundation, which is enough to strengthen the coalition forces of the 36 countries. The most important thing is that they are led by the Mountain Master Black Bear Spirit, who has some relationship with the abbot of Shuangkong Temple. Just ask about this background. Looking at the entire Florida, who dares to provoke him? But now, there are actually demon clans from other places who dare to provoke them blatantly. I'm afraid you don't know who has the toughest fist here, right? However, at this moment, there was an anxious cry from outside, "Mountain Master. Something bad has happened. There is an unknown monster invasion in Shuangkong Mountain. My Buddha is compassionate." The black bear spirit's eyes shone with cold light, and he said slowly, "Follow me out and welcome this Taoist friend who has come from afar to wish me a birthday." Calm words, full of murderous intent. "Yes, Mountain Master." The Red Ox King and the colorful Chicken King followed, with murderous looks on their faces. At the same time, chaos fell into chaos inside Shuangkong Mountain. Because in the distant horizon, there is an extremely terrifying pressure spreading, and the black spot is also rapidly expanding, bringing a strong sense of oppression. These evil beasts actually ruined living people like this. Li Wuji's eyes were fierce, and his consciousness scanned the situation below, and all kinds of horrific scenes were clearly visible. Yi Junlin sneered. Shuangkong Mountain will no longer exist from today on. Kunpeng continued to fly forward, unscrupulously releasing the momentum of a king, overwhelming all living beings. 2 other figures flashed in the sky above the valley, one looked like an antelope, and the other was a fat-headed black pig. They were the Aries King and the Black Pig King of the 4 Vajra. The black bear spirit rode on the clouds, with one hand erected in front of his chest, his bright robe fluttering, and his face was calm as he said, "What's the situation?" Mountain Master, the other party is coming fiercely. The other two demon kings said solemnly. HMPH, if it dares to come over, I will kill it with one blow. The Red Bull King shouted angrily. Oh, Big Brother is mighty. The five-colored Chicken King said excitedly. Those who can be called demon kings are all in the realm of transformation. The black bear spirit who subdued them is in the realm of fusion, and is called the Demon King in the Demon Clan. Above the Demon King is the Demon Lord of the Mahayana period. Look, it's the Mountain Master and the four Vajra. The demons below were boiling, and they were full of confidence. Shuangkong Mountain now dominates the far west and does not take anyone seriously. Since there is a foreign demon clan provoking, let it go without return. As the momentum became more and more turbulent, the demons were frightened from the initial shouting to the silence later. Until Kunpeng approached with supreme power, the demons looked dazed and felt cold all over. Mountain Master, the four demon kings who were arrogant just now were now sweating coldly and their faces were terrified. Looking at Kunpeng's two eyes that were as blazing as the sun, the black bear demon could no longer remain calm, and shivered with numb scalp. Dao Yu, may I ask what you are doing here? The other party's appearance made it feel that it was not easy to provoke. Especially this realm, it is impossible to see through it. Boom, Kunpeng flapped his wings and released his cultivation without reservation. The entire hanging mountain was shrouded in its pressure. The grass and trees were still, and time seemed to freeze. Oh my god, the four demon kings were so scared that they fell to the ground, and the shock was loud. The black bear demon was no exception. He fell from the clouds, looked up in disbelief, his head buzzing, and said in a lost voice, is this a demon emperor in the realm of crossing the calamity? Namo Amitabha Buddha, what did it do to provoke a demon emperor? Chapter 108, C108 King of Mushrooms. I am panicking. The black bear spirit was filled with panic. The main reason why it went all the way to the far west was because this place was relatively remote and I had never heard of any powerful people stationed there. With my cultivation in the fusion realm, I could this is to set up one's own business and become the king. Coupled with the strong background of Shuangkong Temple, it can play with these human nations at its fingertips. As a result, it never expected that a demon emperor who had transcended the tribulation realm would come to trouble it. The black bear spirit was very regretful. He should have known better and would not have escaped. It turns out that the outside world is so dangerous. Suddenly, perhaps sensing Kunpeng's powerful and dangerous aura, the tight hoop on the black bear spirit's forehead glowed with golden light, bright and dazzling. Grandma, what's going on? The black bear spirit was surprised and confused. Aha! The tight hoop released a terrifying energy wave. In the sky, a shadow that was 10,000 feet high slowly emerged. It was a skinny old monk wearing cassocks, with kind eyes and kind eyebrows. He was twisting Buddha beads in his hand. He showed no sadness or joy. Rumble, an overwhelming momentum was released, directly suppressing Kunpeng who was rising like the sun in the sky. Abbot, the black bear spirit was overjoyed. He didn't expect that the tight hoop on his head contained the universe and hidden mysteries. The shadow that appeared was the abbot of Shuangkong Temple. However, this is just a spiritual imprint that he deliberately left behind, so that he can use some of his methods when the black bear spirit encounters a crisis. Kunpeng's momentum stagnated, and there was fear in his eyes. This old bald donkey is quite protective of his calf. Yi Junlin sneered. At this moment, the abbot of Shuangkong Temple slowly raised his hand, with the swastika shining on his palm, giving him a terrifying power that overwhelmed all living beings. Boom! The golden palm print was shot out and expanded infinitely in the air, as if there was a small world inside the palm, with hundreds of millions of monks chanting sutras. This blow contains the aura of completing the tribulation. So strong. Li Wuji's expression changed slightly. Kunpeng felt a sense of oppression coming over him, and he let out an uneasy cry. How dare you show off in front of me? Yi Junlin showed contempt, clenched his fist and prepared to strike straight away. A sonic boom sounded, the air exploded, and golden ripples bloomed from the fist, shattering the void along the way, causing an unimaginable horrific scene. Boom! The big palm of the Buddha's light was completely annihilated by this punch. Ah! The mighty energy flow surged and raged, directly shocking many little demons below to death, and screams occurred one after another. After the move was resolved, it seemed that it had lost its strength support, and the shadow of the abbot of Shuangkong Temple gradually disappeared, as if it had never appeared before. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The black bear spirit was so frightened that the bear's bile almost burst. His eyes were round and his face was full of horror. If he read it correctly, this demon emperor has human power in his body, which means that this demon emperor is just a mount at best. These days, even the demon emperor who has crossed the tribulation realm has become a mount. So crazy. The other 4 demon kings were so frightened that they lay on the ground and did not dare to move. In their worldview, demon kings in the combined realms such as Black Bear Spirit are already super overlords. As for the demon lord, I dare not even think about it, let alone the top demon emperor among the demon clan. Unexpectedly, the demon emperor, whom they regarded as a god, was actually just the human race's mount. What is the origin of the other party? Senior, I wonder where I have offended you. The Black Bear Spirit said in fear, sweating profusely. Yi Junlin appeared in a flash, standing with his feet in the void and his hands behind his back. His long silver white hair was dancing in the wind, his sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes looked handsome. His gaze was like 2 beams of sword light, piercing directly into the Black Bear Spirit below. The Black Bear Spirit's eyes hurt and he did not dare to look directly. If you want to blame it, it's your bad luck to build the dojo here. Yi Junlin smiled half-heartedly. The Black Bear Spirit was so frightened that his heart went crazy, and he quickly said, Senior, I will evacuate overnight and never set foot in the far west again. I think you want to go back to Shuenkong Temple. Yi Junlin flicked his fingers. The Black Bear Spirit was stunned, then nodded wildly, yes. Then, it came up with a plan and pretended to be serious. Amitabha, I have a close relationship with the Shuenkong Temple. If I don't go back, the temple will definitely send people to investigate to the end. If you are free in the future, you can visit the temple as a guest. What the abbot likes most is to sit and talk with a powerful person like you, Senior. This Black Bear Spirit was beating Yi Junlin crazily in his words, hinting that he had a background inside and outside his words. If something really happened, the abbot of Shuenkong Temple would not let it go. The Black Bear Spirit knows that big bosses of this level have a circle in private. As long as they reveal their identity and background, they will basically stop there and give face to the backers behind them. Yi Junlin's tone was meaningful. I happen to be going to the Shuenkong Temple as a guest, so why don't you let me take you there along the way? The Black Bear Spirit was overjoyed. It seemed that his words had an effect. Sure enough, the reputation of Shuenkong Temple is good. The 4 demon kings were envious in their hearts. It was good to have such a background. Even this boss wanted to show off his face and even deigned to escort him all the way. Xiao Li, go and chop off the head of this stupid bear. I want to give it to the abbot of Shuenkong Temple as a greeting gift. Yes, master. The Black Bear Spirit almost suspected that his ears heard it wrong. Before it could scream in terror, a line of blood appeared on its neck. The whole head fell off, and blood spurted out from the broken neck. I don't know when, Li Wuji stood next to the corpse with a black ink knife, and sneered, stupid bear. Do you really think you can go back alive? Mountain Master. The 4 demon kings shouted in horror, things changed too suddenly. Yi Junlin glanced at the 4 figures and said, good guy, you also get extra chickens, cows, sheep and pigs. That's too polite. The 4 demon kings huddled together, trembling. Li Wuji understood it in his heart and struck with his sword. Ah, the 4 demon kings were hacked to death on the spot, and each of them revealed their true form. Each one was huge, enough to feed an ordinary person for several months. Braised chicken, steak, roasted whole lamb, and braised pork. At this time, Yi Junlin had already begun to arrange. Finally, pointing to the body of the Black Bear Spirit, he added, and steamed bear paws. Perfect. The 2 returned to Kunpeng. Yi Junlin patted Hong Chenny on the shoulder, good disciple, I'll leave the rest to you to clear the place. Hong Chenny's eyes flashed, yes. He kneaded with one hand, and countless terrifying red flames poured into the ground, and then surged around like a tide. Ah, tens of thousands of monsters had no time to escape, and were swallowed up by the fire in despair. Rumble. The scene was very scary, like the end of the world. Until the flames gradually dissipated, all the previous horrific scenes had disappeared, replaced by only a piece of scorched earth and steaming hot smoke. From then on, the monsters in the far west became a thing of the past, and the hanging mountain no longer existed. And the expressions of the monk soldiers who were sent to various countries will definitely be very exciting when they come back in a hurry. Without the protection of Shuenkong Mountain, they would be like lost dogs, and their end would only be even more miserable. At this time, Kunpeng flew through the void, heading towards the center of Florida. On its back, a gourmet feast is being held. Li Wuji held the roasted leg of lamb in his hand, bit into a piece of meat, and chewed it with relish. The meat was tender, juicy, and very crispy. He gave a thumbs up and praised. Senior sister Bai's craftsmanship is getting better and better. Bai Xiaoxi was very happy after hearing this. She scratched her cheek with her fingers and said sheepishly, "No, Shushu is just doing his best." Hong Chenny had no expression on her face, picked up a piece of braised pork and gently put it into her mouth. Suddenly, an explosion of delicious food hit his taste buds. After chewing it carefully, he swallowed it, with a look of shock in his eyes. Is the food cooked by this silly mouse so delicious now? Even the top spiritual chef in the central region is nothing more than this, right? Of course, Hong Chenny would not show it, which would make her look very uncharacteristic of a senior brother. Instead, she would eat slowly and silently, but her chopsticks would pick up the meat faster and faster. Yi Junlin tasted the delicacy of steamed bear paws. It melted in your mouth, was smooth but not greasy, and made you feel refreshed after eating it. There are so many meat dishes here, why don't we have some vegetarian soup? Hear the words. Bai Xiaoxi looked troubled. Master, Shushu forgot to pull the wild vegetables. Yi Junlin flicked its little head and said angrily, "What kind of wild vegetables are you pulling? Don't we have ready-made ones here? We have to learn to be flexible." Everyone was stunned, and then all looked at it. A young figure who lowered his presence and silently ate delicacies came into their sight. Because he was invited to enjoy the meal together, the big mushroom king had no choice but to turn into a human form and eat at the table. He was quite resistant at first, but he didn't expect that the meat of these monsters would be so delicious after being cooked by Bai Xiaoxi. I almost forgot that it is a medicine clan. At this time, he noticed that the eyes were focused on him. This simple young man with a pot head and thick eyebrows asked anxiously, why are you looking at me? Yi Junlin had a smile on his face, which made people feel like spring breeze. Xiaohei, please change back. I want to drink mushroom soup. Big Mushroom King. Chapter 109. C-109. It tastes so good. 2 minutes later, the Big Mushroom King had done enough ideological work, and without being coerced, he voluntarily transformed back into his original form and jumped into a big black pot. Xiaoxi, come here and add water. Yi Junlin rubbed his hands impatiently, wanting to try the delicious mushroom soup. Although she sympathized with this little junior brother, after all, the master's order was that Bai Xiaoxi had no choice but to pour water into the big black pot obediently and comforted. Junior brother, don't be afraid, just stay in there for a while, the master will not take it. How are you? The Big Mushroom King was so sad and angry that he had indeed boarded a pirate ship. Yi Junlin said excitedly, Xiao Hong, start turning up the heat. Yes. The corner of Hong Chenny's mouth curved like a blade, and she secretly said, as expected, accepting this mushroom as a disciple is a lie, but eating it in the end is true. Then, he made a secret with one hand and poured raging flames under the big black pot. The flames contained terrifying energy and high temperature. Fortunately, the big black pot was a system item, otherwise it would have been melted long ago. Fourth junior brother, is the water temperature okay? Bai Xiaoxi asked with concern. Hot, so hot. The Big Mushroom King was in the boiling hot water, which was bubbling. It felt uncomfortable all over and wanted to jump out immediately, but there was an invisible force suppressing it and it could only stay in the black pot. Before long, the air was filled with the fragrant smell of mushrooms. Everyone couldn't help but swallow their saliva. This is a fresh soup made from the best medicine king. Li Wuji looked troubled. The fragrance is quite fragrant, but my junior brother looks uncomfortable. Hong Chenny played with the taste. Oh. It is said that the soup made from the immortal chaos mushroom, no matter who drinks too much, can improve his physical condition and become an immortal. Hiss. Li Wuji took a deep breath. The posture of becoming an immortal. Anyone who lives in the world of cultivation doesn't hope to become an immortal one day. But now all I have to do is drink some soup. Where does such a good thing go? Li Wuji immediately changed his serious face and said angrily, Junior brother, please bear with me. The poor Mushroom King was suffering from the steaming water in the black pot. He was unbearably hot and even showed signs of fainting. After all, it was Red Chiba who added heat to it. If there was no black pot to isolate the flames from the outside, the Big Mushroom King would have been cooked immediately. Ding, a warm reminder to the host, if something unexpected happens to your apprentice at this time, this system will take back the rewards previously given to you. Close black lens bracket. Even the system came out and reminded Yi Junlin not to go too far, for fear of really killing this poor apprentice. Yi Junlin was stunned and said angrily, Tongzi, you are questioning my character. I, Yi, like to be a teacher, and all this is to temper it. Let it have a will of steel. With that said, Yi Junlin sent a message to the big mushroom king in the black pot. Xiao He, run the Qingdi immortality art for me, remember, live towards death. The mushroom king, who was about to be unable to stand it any longer, heard these words and subconsciously immersed himself in comprehending the technique. In this special environment, the big mushroom king wandered between life and death, jumping sideways repeatedly, as if he had forgotten time. The so-called way of wood is the way of life and the way of time. Only in this way can we be continuous, endless and eternal. As it comprehends, the wood essence around the body becomes more and more active, the body surface blooms with a bright blue light, and the flowing words are faintly visible, which is the general outline of the Qing Emperor's secret of immortality. The water temperature started to boil crazily and it was fragrant. What's going on? Hong Chenny and the others were shocked and confused. Aha! A huge cyan light beam bloomed from the big mushroom king, with an invisible aura of majesty. Its realm has broken through and reached the early stage of transcending tribulation. Li Wuji was stunned. Isn't it right? Can you break through like this? This is much more awesome than having an epiphany and breakthrough after drinking enlightenment tea. As the third senior brother, he suddenly felt a sense of crisis in his heart. Why are everyone so curled up? Yi Junlin put his hands behind his back, looking enigmatic. Tongzi, do you see? This is my intention. System. After the big mushroom king broke through the tribulation, his patience also improved a lot, and he began to slowly adapt to the temperature, and it was not as uncomfortable as before. Damn it. Hong Chenny felt unhappy, feeling like she had been slapped in the face, and then continued to increase the power of the flames. Before the big mushroom king had time to be happy, he suddenly felt that the water temperature continued to soar, and he was immediately confused. What on earth was going on? Snap. Yi Junlin slapped Hong Chenny on the back of the head. You really want to cook your junior brother before you give up, right? Hong Chenny had no choice but to stop and said with a guilty conscience, I just want the soup to taste fresher. Seeing that the black pot was no longer heating, Big Mushroom King secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Finally escaped. Here comes the mushroom soup. Bai Xiaoxi walked over briskly, carrying a bowl of mushroom soup. The soup is fragrant and has a golden luster on the surface. It sometimes gathers and sometimes separates, making it look very mysterious. Li Wuji spooned a bowl of soup for himself, then picked it up and drank it. Ah! Li Wuji put down the bowl, raised his head and couldn't help but moan. His whole body felt light and giddy, and he felt an ecstasy of pleasure. Everyone looked weird. Why do you have so many scenes as a man? Li Wuji realized that he had lost his composure, coughed a few times and defended himself. It's really delicious. I didn't lie to you. Master believes you. Yi Junlin also finished a bowl, and instantly felt that it was not exaggerated. The taste of this mushroom soup was simply delicious. Hong Chenny slowly put down the bowl, and was moved. Just after drinking this bowl of mushroom soup, he actually recalled the carefree days when he became an immortal. In one word, absolutely. Shushu thinks it tastes good. Bai Xiaoxi was intoxicated, and couldn't help turning in circles on the spot, feeling extremely happy. Everyone was impressed by the taste of mushroom soup. Another bowl. I want it too. Yi Junlin and the others rushed to drink mushroom soup. Fourth junior brother, come and try it too. Li Wuji greeted generously. I'll forget it. The great mushroom king felt very uncomfortable and felt it was very absurd. Is your bath water so delicious? To be honest, it is indeed quite disgusting to put yourself in the perspective of the great mushroom king. Finally, everyone ate up the food in a flash. Li Wuji took the bowl in his hand and licked the bottom of the bowl vigorously, because he remembered that senior brother Hong said that drinking too much mushroom soup would make one become an immortal. Yi Junlin stared at the third disciple seriously, and finally concluded seriously, Xiao Li, you are like a dog licker. Li Wuji's face froze, and he smiled bitterly. Master, I will take it as you are praising me. Central Florida, Pure Land. This is the most powerful country in Florida, with the strongest Zen in the entire East region. Just because the famous Hanging Temple is set up in it. Every national master of the Pure Land is selected from the Hanging Temple, and has a lot of say in the court, and even the king has to treat him with courtesy. There is even a saying among the people, whether the Pure Land is in chaos or not, the Hanging Temple has the final say. And today is a special day. In the bustling capital, monks in various costumes gathered here, heading in the same direction, Fantuo Mountain. Every time they took a step, they would put their hands together, kowtow, stand up, take another step, kowtow again, and repeat over and over again. In addition, many ordinary people followed suit and followed this group of monks to Fantuo Mountain to express their piety to the Buddha. This is a very common thing in the Pure Land. On the top of the mountain, an ancient and solemn temple stood, revealing the vicissitudes of time. There was a strong incense here, and pilgrims came in an endless stream. Abbot, the altar will be opened later, and the disciples are ready. A little monk put his hands together and said respectfully. In the temple, a skinny figure sitting cross-legged on a cushion slowly opened his eyes as deep as the sea, making people feel that the vicissitudes of life are nothing special. Well, step back. Yes. After a while, the abbot sighed, hey, who on earth can even resolve my methods? A few days ago, he suddenly felt that the mark of the tight hoop left on the head of the black bear demon was activated, and then the connection was cut off. He knew that the black bear demon might have met with an accident. In the small far west, there is such a thing. Maybe it is a fellow Taoist from other Taoist states who happened to pass by and suppress the evil beast, because there are only a handful of people in the whole state of Florida who can fight with me indirectly, and after knowing the interests involved, they will choose to stop. The abbot narrowed his eyes slightly. This evil beast couldn't stand the atmosphere of the temple and sneaked out to do evil outside. Now it is suppressed, which can be regarded as karma. I just hope that the person who took action can stop when it is enough. If he makes a big fuss, it will be bad for my hanging temple. He has been feeling unsatisfactory recently. The elder Randing who had left the hanging temple before had died inexplicably. When his natal jade slip was broken, it caused a huge shock to the top leaders of the hanging temple, but the news was blocked immediately and not leaked out. And now, there is another suspected outsider who has reached the tribulation realm and is determined to go against him without giving him face. Putting these two things together, the abbot is very upset. Amitabha. The abbot habitually chanted the Buddha's name silently, then stood up and walked out slowly. Today is the day when he opens the Dharma altar. Every time, many Zen practitioners come here to admire his reputation. This matter cannot be sloppy. It concerns the reputation of him and the hanging temple. Looking at the red sun above his head, the abbot's right eyelid suddenly twitched, his steps slightly paused, and he asked in surprise, strange, why do I feel that something big has happened? Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 110. C110 How dare he? At this time, Fantuo Mountain was very lively. Many people looked enthusiastic and looked at the temple standing on the top of the mountain with a pilgrimage mentality. It's the day for the hanging temple to open a Dharma altar again. This time I must comprehend the profound Buddhist teachings of the abbot. The abbot is really a good person. His tolerance and broad mind make him a spiritual leader of Zen meditation in the world. After all, that is the closest to the true Buddha. There were many discussions, and many people were sighing. One of the men pointed his finger and said in surprise, hey, are those people members of the royal family of the Pure Land Kingdom? Are they also here to listen to the lecture of the abbot? Everyone looked in the direction. I saw 2 men and 1 woman walking along the stone steps to the top of the mountain. They were wearing luxurious clothes and royal tokens on their waists. They were very different from ordinary people in terms of temperament. There was a group of elite guards following them at all times. Each of them was as energetic as a dragon and had a strong cultivation. My dear, you are from outside, right? You should know that every time the abbot of the hanging temple opens a Dharma altar, the ruler of the Pure Land Kingdom asks his children to come and learn. After so many years, this has become a must for members of the royal family. I see. Everyone stopped talking and stepped up the stairs with one heart. This is the rule of the hanging temple. If you want to go to the temple to burn incense and pray, or listen to the Dharma, you need to walk up the 100,000 steps of Fantuo Mountain. If you are impatient and rush up rashly, you will be considered insincere and rejected by the monks of the hanging temple. Since I listened to the lecture of the abbot, I have a thorough understanding of the golden body of Buddhism. Even if I face the attack of a demon king, I must be able to fight it with my flesh. The one who spoke was the eldest prince of the Pure Land Kingdom. He was relatively burly, full of momentum, with hair standing up like steel needles, and his eyes shining. Brother is still the one who has the best understanding, the second prince beside him said with a smile, holding a folding fan and gently shaking it, like a gentleman with elegant manners and graceful appearance. Brother, didn't you just tell me a while ago that you have mastered the 6-word mantra a little bit better, and told me that you are sure you can suppress a demon king? Princess Mingyu said jokingly with bright eyes and white teeth. She was wearing a purple dress, her hair was smooth and soft, Her figure was curvy, especially her upper body, which stood like a mountain, exuding an irresistible charm. The second prince's forehead was sweating, and he laughed dryly. Little sister, you heard it wrong. Brother said that he could compete with the Demon King, but he said that he could suppress the Demon King. Doesn't this mean that he can beat brother? The eldest prince frowned. Second brother, it seems that your strength has increased. After we go back, let's practice together. Big brother, don't listen to my little sister's nonsense. How can I compare with you? The second prince was so confused that he hurriedly said. If he was dragged to practice with him, he would probably have to lie down for 10 days or half a month. Look how nervous you are. I just want to enhance the relationship between brothers. Besides, how long have we not practiced together? If you dare to refuse again, I will think you look down on me. The eldest prince directly hugged the second prince's shoulders, stretched out his fists and crackled, and seemed to be crazy to suggest that you should think about the consequences. The second prince's face fell. Anyway, he was going to be beaten, so he might as well agree first, so that he could be beaten less. Okay, that's right, you are worthy of being my good brother. Second brother, don't worry, I will cheer you on the side. Princess Mingyu smiled softly with her hands covering her mouth, her eyebrows curved. It seems that you are really capable. Even my little sister is going to cheer you up. Then I must go all out. The eldest prince said angrily. The second prince cried and said, little sister, don't add fuel to the fire. My second brother treats you well on weekdays. Seeing this, Princess Mingyu almost laughed and bent over, and her chest trembled, which made many people stare at her. Everyone, this is Fantuo Mountain. Please pay attention to the royal face. The head of the guard reminded in a low voice. Suddenly, the three stopped playing and put on a proper attitude. In 2 months, it will be my father's birthday banquet. I hope to take this opportunity to open the altar and understand new Buddhist principles from it, so that I can please my father. Princess Mingyu said secretly. Many people climbed to the top of the mountain and went to the temple to listen to the Dharma. The monks put their hands together and looked solemn. On the lotus seat, the abbot of the hanging temple sat cross-legged, twisting his thumb and middle finger, and taught the Dharma to the believers below. Bodhisattvas should subdue their hearts in this way. All sentient beings, whether born from eggs, born from the womb, born from moisture, or born from transformation. Whether with color or without color, whether with thought, without thought, or neither with thought nor without thought, I will make them all enter into the nirvana of no remainder and extinguish them. In this way, the extinguishing is immeasurable, countless and boundless, and there is actually no sentient being who can be extinguished. Why? Subhuti. If a bodhisattva has the appearance of self, the appearance of others, the appearance of sentient beings, and the appearance of the longevity, then he is not a bodhisattva. The old voice was full of calmness and peace, and it kept ringing in the hearts of the people. Everyone listened to it like a trance, as if even their souls were cleansed. Many Zen practitioners who came from the outside world listened carefully at the scene, fearing that they would miss a word. Buddha has mercy, the eldest and second princes murmured with admiration on their faces. Princess Mingyu also clasped her hands together with a pious look. Suddenly, there was a noisy sound outside. Princess Mingyu turned her head and her beautiful eyes widened instantly. Several figures came to the temple gate, not being restricted by the 100,000 steps at all. The leader was a young man in black robes with silver white hair, a handsome face, sharp eyebrows and starry eyes, and a mocking smile on his lips. It can be seen that there is no respect for the Buddhist holy land. It seems like they are here to cause trouble. Several donors, you are ignoring the rules. Please leave Mount Fantuo quickly. You are not welcome here. The monks all had gloomy expressions and blocked their way. The middle-aged monk who took the lead released his cultivation in the fusion realm and spoke in a warning tone. In all these years, I have never seen such an unruly young man. What did you say? Donor, I say. Snap. Yi Junlin slapped the middle-aged monk away. Have labor and management given you face? Senior brother hide. All the monks were shocked. Where did this arrogant person come from? How dare he come to Shuangkong Temple to beat people? Take him and wait for the abbot to punish him. The group of monks swarmed forward angrily. It's just you. Li Wuji sneered and took a step forward, pulling out the ink knife he wore on his waist. The sword was extremely powerful and powerful. Ah! A group of monks flew out upside down, blood spurted from the corners of their mouths, their eyes rolled back and they lost consciousness. What's going on outside? The movement was so loud that the crowd listening to the Dharma in the square looked at each other in surprise and uncertainty. Yi Junlin reached out his hand, and a terrifying suction force erupted from his palm, and the plaque of the hanging temple was forcibly removed. This plaque is full of precious light and is engraved with the 3 characters, Shuangkong Temple. After endless years of baptism and refinement by eminent monks of all ages, the plaque itself has even reached the threshold of a spiritual weapon. This is the card of Shuangkong Temple. No one is allowed to blaspheme. Hong Chenny looked weird. What is this guy going to do? Immediately afterwards, under countless shocked eyes, Yi Junlin walked in with a swagger carrying the plaque of the Hanging Temple, and then raised his hand and threw it into the air. The plaque traced a beautiful arc. Yi Junlin imitated the name of a certain kung fu superstar in his previous life. A classic move, he wiped his nose and let out a cry, then hit the plaque with a beautiful flying kick from the side. Ah, hit. At this moment, this plaque that had gone through the baptism of time and was engraved with the 3 characters, Shuangkong Temple, exploded in an instant, sending fragments flying everywhere. Yi Junlin landed on the ground gracefully, with his hands behind his back, looking like a peerless master. In an instant, everyone stood there as if petrified, with expressions of disbelief. Princess Mingyu's beautiful eyes were full of shock, and she murmured, "Oh my god, who is this person? How dare he?" Chapter 111. C-111. The evidence is solid. Everyone was dumbfounded, watching the plaque symbolizing the Hanging Temple being kicked to pieces by the young man of unknown origin. They felt absurd and almost thought they were dreaming. Who is this man? How dare he come to the Hanging Temple to cause trouble? The eldest prince was stunned and said angrily, "Brother, don't be impulsive. Let's wait and see what happens." The second prince said nervously. Not to mention that the other party dared to break into the Hanging Temple blatantly, just kicking the spiritual weapon level plaque to pieces is enough to prove how terrifying his strength is. Let's ask, there was no fluctuation of mana in the whole process, relying only on pure flesh and strength, and he could kick the spiritual weapon to pieces directly. How many cultivators can do this? I'm afraid even the Mahayana realm can't do it. Where did this evil creature come from? How dare you break into the Hanging Temple in broad daylight? Countless angry shouts came from the temple, and a dense crowd of monks rushed in, all glaring, their eyes almost spurting out anger. Under the sunlight, the bald heads looked like boiled eggs, with a layer of brilliant halo. Whoever dares to move forward will die. Li Wuji's cold voice sounded. Swish, the sharp knife energy disappeared in an instant, leaving a deep gully on the ground in front. On this gully, the domineering knife intent remained, separating the monks like a natural moat. Feeling the terribleness of this knife, the monks were frightened and pale, and dared not act rashly. HMPH. Li Wuji sneered. What a strong sword spirit. This person is already at the forefront of the sword path. He must be no ordinary person in the East region. Wait, do you feel that they give people an inexplicable sense of familiarity, as if you have heard of them somewhere? My dear, now that you mention it, I have the same feeling. The crowd whispered. The abbot sitting on the lotus platform had a flash of cold light in his eyes. He has never seen such an arrogant person in his life. He dared to do such a bad thing in the Hanging Temple. But today is a very special day. There are Zen practitioners from all over the world gathered here. The more at this critical moment, the more he has to behave calmly with his identity. Amitabha, the abbot's face was neither sad nor happy, and he said lightly, I have offended several donors in the Hanging Temple. I hope you can give me a satisfactory answer, otherwise you will stay forever and confess your actions to the Buddha. Faced with this situation, the leader of the Hanging Temple was not angry, but instead looked calm and maintained the demeanor of a Buddhist monk, which made everyone admire him. Look, this is the pattern. Yi Junlin sneered. Keep pretending, you bald donkeys in the Hanging Temple are so good at acting, right? Hearing this, the monks stared with anger, and were very angry at this person's disrespectful words and deeds. The abbot said calmly, this donor, it seems that you have a deep misunderstanding of my Hanging Temple. But no matter what, everything in this world is based on reason. I opened a Dharma altar today to teach Buddhism, but you broke in for no reason, destroying this rare tranquility and making personal attacks on me and many fellow disciples. This is indeed not within the scope of reason. I hope this donor can give an explanation. Haha, then you can just stare at me. Yi Junlin sneered. He really couldn't stand the face of this old bald donkey. Take out the photo ball. Yes, master. Li Wuji took out the photo ball and injected magic power into it. The photo ball sent a light curtain to the sky. The background of the picture was outside the Medicine King Valley. There was a familiar figure in a cassock, which was particularly eye-catching. This is Elder Randing. A disciple exclaimed. The status of this elder was high, second only to the abbot in the Hanging Temple. Randing, the abbot's eyes flashed with brilliance, and his heart was like a raging sea. A while ago, Randang's natal jade slip was broken, causing a huge shock among the top leaders of the Hanging Temple. Due to the impact, they had to block the matter, so many people didn't know that he had fallen. After all, he was a great Buddhist who had reached the peak of the tribulation. There were few people in the eastern region who could threaten him. As a result, he died for no reason after a long journey. Who could accept this? Not only the abbot, but also the top leaders of the Hanging Temple who knew the inside story were all shocked at this moment, because the photo ball taken out by the other party might reveal what happened before Randang's death. In the picture, Master Randang was confronting a white-haired old man. From a few words, we can infer the cause and process at that time. That's the white-haired old demon Yi Junlin. It seems that he wants to rob the monks from Yaowang Valley. He is a great man in the realm of transcending tribulation, but he still does such a thing. His character is really corrupt. Fortunately, the monks of the Hanging Temple came out to stop him. May the Buddha have mercy on him. Everyone hates Yi Junlin and highly respects the monks of the Hanging Temple. Since the Battle of Wangzhou, the Zen monks in Fazhou hate Yi Junlin very much. Of course, to a large extent, the Hanging Temple is behind the scenes. The demon Yi is cruel by nature. Although the monks of the Hanging Temple came out to stop him, I'm afraid there will be a dangerous fight. The eldest and second princes clenched their fists. Seeing this, the abbot looked compassionate and sighed. Good, good, monks are compassionate. The actions of Elder Randang are in line with the philosophy that my Hanging Temple has always implemented. He was thinking, was it because of this incident that he was killed by the white-haired old demon? Randang, you are confused. Why not just run away? Why stand up for those ants? The scene continues. After learning the identity of the other party, Master Randang's attitude changed 180 degrees. Suddenly, he attacked his own people, his mood was hysterical, and he cast a spell to imprison all the monks, intending to kill and silence them. In order to escape afterwards, he also made a request for cooperation with the enemies of Shuangkong Temple. Boom! The whole place was in an uproar. What's going on? Master Randang actually cooperated with the white-haired old devil. What about the mercy you promised? The person who supported Master Randang just now and was highly respected in Shuangkong Temple felt like he had a lump in his throat at this moment. The reversal happened so fast that it almost twisted their waists. The abbot seemed to be choked, and his face felt hot, as if someone had slapped him in the face. Princess Mingyu was dumbfounded. Killing innocents indiscriminately, hypocritical and cunning, is this still the enlightened monk she knows? Besides, that person still has a very high status in Shuangkong Temple. This is not over yet. The most exciting scene appears. In the picture, the real Yi Junlin appeared, punching and killing Master Randang like a god, saving everyone. That invincible figure was deeply imprinted in the minds of the monks at the scene. Hiss! Gasps sounded around. Is that figure in the picture the real white-haired old devil in the rumors? Wouldn't that be? Swish swish swish, countless eyes focused on the silver-haired young man again, full of shock, awe, nervousness, fear, etc. The killing god Yi Junlin actually climbed to the top of Mount Fantuo today. Combined with the actions just now, are you here to call for punishment? It turns out that he is Yi Junlin. After watching the picture of the photo ball, Princess Mingyu was no longer so afraid of this person, and was even a little curious. Little sister, hide behind big brother. The eldest prince pulled Princess Mingyu behind him, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and his eyes were full of fear. What should I do? Do I need to inform my father? The second prince was so frightened that his scalp was numb. The famous white-haired murderer appears in the Pure Land Kingdom now. This kind of existence, even if it devotes all the efforts of a country, it will not be able to compete with it. It's you. The abbot's expression couldn't hide his shock, and then his face turned uglier than if he had eaten shit. Although he guessed that Elder Randang's death was related to the other party, he didn't expect it to end in this way. Especially when he saw Yi Junlin beating Elder Randang to death with one punch, the abbot's inner danger assessment of Yi Junlin skyrocketed. But compared to this incident, the most terrifying thing is that the reputation of Shuangkong Temple has been damaged. Snort. A cold snort sounded like muffled thunder in the sky. The abbot stood up from the lotus platform and said in a deep voice, Demon Yi, you are really despicable. You actually tricked the photo ball and tried to frame me, the elder of Shuangkong Temple. Even with this despicable method, you also want to fool me. World, that's ridiculous. Everyone was stunned. Is there really something fishy behind this? Photo balls can be faked, but it is extremely difficult, but this possibility is not ruled out. Old bald donkey, you still dare to quibble? Li Wuge said angrily. Sure enough, it is in line with my consistent view of you Buddhists. Hong Chenny crossed his arms and said in disgust. Yi Junlin waved his hand and sneered, what about this? Plop, a black bear's skull rolled to the ground, emitting the smell of blood, its eyes widened, and it refused to rest in silence. What? The abbot felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and panic filled his heart. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode, thumbs feed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail minus 300 times 250 feet, target _type, mix. Chapter 112, C112 Anxious. When the head of the black bear demon appeared, everyone was stunned. What does this mean? Could this demon bear have something to do with the hanging temple? The abbot stared at the head with a trace of cold sweat on his forehead. It turned out that this evil beast had triggered the restriction hidden in the tight hoop only after encountering this person. In this case, this guy must know that this evil beast has something to do with him. Old bald donkey, I found your lost pet, why don't you thank me properly? Yi Junlin said with a smile. The abbot was so angry that he wanted to curse his mother. He said with a deep look, don't talk nonsense. I have nothing to do with this evil beast. Oh, this stupid bear, relying on your support, set up his own sect in the far west, called Shuangkong Mountain. Over the years, he has been doing evil and bullying, and has killed many innocent people. How dare you say all this, and you, as the master, are completely unaware of it? Yi Junlin questioned. Boom, the whole place was like a pot of boiling water, and the surroundings suddenly became noisy. How is it possible, Master Abbot would indulge the evil beast so much? I remember that the hanging temple did raise a black bear. I remember seeing it in the temple a long time ago. Is this a coincidence? I don't think the hanging temple would be so partial and pervert the law. Grand and compassionate Master Abbot, please give us a reasonable answer. Many people present were emotional and asked the hanging temple to clarify as soon as possible, because this really subverted their cognition. The monks of the hanging temple were too guilty to speak out in rebuttal. The abbot looked grim and gritted his teeth and said, Demon head Yi, don't slander me. This temple did raise a black bear before, but it died hundreds of years ago. Now you have produced such forged evidence, which is a naked slander. The abbot is right, this is slander. Demon head Yi, you are too despicable. Hearing this, the monks burst into an overwhelming roar, as if they had suffered a great injustice. Papa, the crisp applause sounded. Yi Junlin clapped his hands and sighed, I admire you for being so thick-skinned. The abbot snorted coldly, I am upright and upright. Even if I am compassionate, I will never accept slander without reason. Demon head Yi, I advise you to stop making trouble. Hee. Quote, Yi Junlin snapped his fingers with a sneer, Xiao Li, show them something else. Yes, master. Li Wuji waved his hand, and several shadow balls flew out. In the air, the pictures unfolded one by one, starting with City Lord Morong explaining what happened, and when the black bear demon was eliminated, the shadow of the abbot was stimulated from the tight hoop. It was recorded in great detail from beginning to end, with clear and complete voices, movements and appearances. Yi Junlin put his hands behind his back, if anyone still doubts that it is fake, you can go to the far west to verify it. Over the years, the people in the far west have lived in misery. During the whole process, there were many people who came all the way to the Hanging Temple for help, but the Hanging Temple did not pay any attention to them. Instead, in order to avoid the impact, they were secretly eliminated. Take a good look, this is the respected Buddhist leader in your eyes. Quote. Yi Junlin's clear voice echoed in all directions, making many people's heads buzz and their minds shaken. Pa, disgusting. Li Wuji spit on the ground fiercely, saying with contempt. Everyone looked at each other in confusion. In the crowd, an old man in plain clothes hesitated for a long time, and finally said, Everyone, I am an elder of the Tianzhong sect. I can guarantee with the reputation of the Tianzhong sect that these image balls have clear images and there is no abnormality in the fluctuation of magic power. This shows that what is recorded is absolutely true. Quote. As soon as these words came out, it was like stirring up 1,000 waves, and everyone was shocked. The whole eastern region knew that the craftsmanship of the Tianzhong sect cultivators was superb, and they made all kinds of puppets, flying boats, magic weapons and other items commonly used in the cultivation world. And the shadow ball is also an industrial chain under the name of the Tianzhong sect. So, when the elder of the Tianzhong sect stood up to testify, the credibility directly reached 100%. This is completely confirmed, and it is useless to quibble. Buddha, what is the truth? It turns out that the Hanging Temple has always been a false face, and they are actually hypocritical and shameless people. You don't deserve to be the orthodox Buddhism. Get out of the eastern region. The angry curses were like a storm, and they were all over the place. The cultivators present were excited and angrily rebuked, and they felt a sense of shame for being deceived for a long time. I didn't expect that the truth was like this. The eldest prince's faith collapsed, like a deflated ball, he murmured. It's a pity that we were all kept in the dark. The second prince laughed at himself. Princess Mingyu was very surprised by this result, and then looked at the silver-haired young man, her beautiful eyes shining with light. This senior is really the opposite of the rumors, how noble his image is. On the other hand, the Hanging Temple, which is usually bright and beautiful, is so dirty behind the scenes. At this time, the expressions of the monks in the Hanging Temple are all very unnatural. This is too bad, especially the abbot who is at the center of the storm, feels that his old face is hot, as if he has been repeatedly slapped. No matter how thick his skin is, no matter how well he does on the surface, he can't stand the situation where his lies are exposed and he is criticized by thousands of people. The most terrifying thing is, if this incident spreads, the glorious image that Shuangkong Temple has worked so hard to create will be wiped out in an instant, and its reputation will plummet to the bottom. Old bald donkey, what else do you have to say? Yi Junlin smiled playfully and flicked his fingers. The abbot's eyes were bloodshot and he stared at the silver-haired young man. The anger in his heart was like a volcanic crater erupting, sweeping through his chest. It was all because of this person that he was dragged into the water. Damn it. Hearing the noisy scolding in his ears, the abbot became more and more upset, and in anger, he used the Buddhist lion roar technique. You evildoers, please shut up. Rumbling, roaring sound swept across like a hurricane-like sound wave, causing the entire Fantuo mountain to tremble violently, and even the sun hanging above the head was roared down. Countless people had splitting headaches and their eyes almost turned white. Master, this old bald donkey is in a hurry. Li Wuji gritted his teeth. Humph, it's nothing more than a dog jumping over the wall in a hurry. Yi Junlin waved his sleeves to isolate the sound wave power and protect most of the monks present. Everyone hurriedly hid behind them, bowed their hands to Yi Junlin, and said with lingering fear, "Thank you, Senior Yi." After the previous reversal, they no longer care about the Shuangkong Temple, and they have long recognized the hypocritical and ugly face of the abbot. It was so dangerous, we were almost shocked to death by the sonic power. The eldest prince was shocked. Did you just want to silence me? Princess Mingyu covered her suffocating chest, feeling frightened for a while. The second prince's scalp was numb and he urged, "Brother, little sister, in my opinion we must evacuate as soon as possible. If it gets to this point, a huge conflict will definitely break out. It is still unknown whether the Pure Land Kingdom can survive alone. The top priority is to evacuate quickly and let father make plans in advance." Second brother is right, let's leave quickly. The eldest prince pulled Princess Mingyu and was about to retreat under the cover of a group of guards. Quick, get out of here. The other monks also realized the seriousness of the problem and jumped up in panic. The abbot shouted, "None of you can leave." Boom. Countless rays of golden Buddha light rise from Fantuo Mountain, filled with a sacred and peaceful atmosphere. In an instant, the sound of Buddha's voice and the chanting of sutras filled all directions, rendering Mount Fantuo like the pure land of bliss in the west. This is the start of the mountain protection formation of Shuangkong Temple. Old bald donkey, what are you going to do? Many people were shocked and angry, with an ominous premonition in their hearts. Amitabha, the abbot slowly clasped his hands together. Half of his face was as ferocious as a demon, and the other half was as kind as a holy monk. It looked extremely weird and chilling. Dear donors, you all have a predestined relationship with Buddhism, so don't think about leaving. Just stay and receive salvation. Chapter 113, C-113. A desperate dog will jump over the wall. Seeing this scene, anyone who is not a fool knows what it means. This is clearly to silence everyone. Shameless. You are shameless in the Hanging Temple. Many monks present were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood, thinking that they were really blind before, believing in such a demon monk with a human face and a beastly heart. This is not a Buddhist holy place, this is clearly a devil's cave that eats people without spitting out bones. A white-haired old man was so angry that he trembled all over and said indignantly, "If I had known earlier, I would not have come to listen to this crappy lecture, go to your mother's Buddha." Another middle-aged man roared emotionally. Facing the excited crowd, the abbot remained unmoved, with his hands clasped together and standing quietly on the lotus platform, with a layer of brilliant halo all over his body, and a strong Zen meaning flowing endlessly. Boom! In an instant, the aura of the perfect cultivation of the tribulation spread violently, covering the entire Fantwo mountain, as if to freeze every inch of the void. The people who were still cursing angrily were all filled with fear, and felt as small as ants. They could not resist this kind of strength at all. Now that Fantwo mountain is blocked, what should we do? Princess Mingyu's pretty face turned pale. The second prince gritted his teeth and shouted at the thin figure with brilliant Buddha light, "Evil monk, there are so many of us here. Even if you kill them all, how will you explain to the outside world afterwards? In the end, your hanging temple will not escape the blame." "That's right. Do you really think you can hide this from the world?" The eldest prince stared with tiger eyes and his voice was like a bell. Hearing this, many people also reacted. Even if they are all killed, what does it matter? The paper cannot cover the fire. The pilgrims who came to participate in the Dharma altar today are all from many forces in Florida, including the royal family of the Pure Land Kingdom. The sudden and bizarre death in the Hanging Temple at the same time will definitely arouse suspicion and condemnation from the outside world. At that time, the Hanging Temple will still be attacked from all sides and fall from the altar. Good, good, the abbot sighed and said, "Today, I opened a Dharma altar to teach Buddhism, but I encountered the demon Yi who interfered. For this reason, the Hanging Temple opened the mountain protection formation. I joined forces with a group of fellow disciples and tried my best to finally kill this demon. Unfortunately, all the pilgrims who participated in the Dharma altar were killed." Amitabha. Hearing this, everyone got goosebumps all over their bodies and felt scared. If this is true, then they will die without evidence. And, maybe the prestige of the Hanging Temple will go further. "Master, that old bald donkey seems to mean to kill you, and then frame you," Li Wuji said. Yi Junlin was speechless. Good guy, worthy of being from the same place. The previous Randing was also this way, the main thing was to let him take the blame, and then clear himself and continue to maintain a positive image. So this is the fine tradition of your Hanging Temple, right? Old bald donkey, you are too idealistic. Do you really think you can get rid of me smoothly? Yi Junlin asked back. The abbot looked at him deeply. Demon Yi, I have seen your strength through the shadow ball. You are indeed proud of yourself. But I want to remind you that this is now in the Hanging Temple, this is my home court. How much do you think you have a chance of winning? The abbot was actually right. If he fought alone outside, he would really have to think about it. But now it is different. With the support of the mountain protection formation of the Hanging Temple and the blessing of the monks of the Hanging Temple, he has all kinds of means, and his own combat power has already reached a terrifying level. Unless the real immortal comes in person, he is confident that he can be invincible. At most, the Hanging Temple will pay some painful prices, but the victory will eventually stand on his side. At this time, rumble, the mountain protection formation stirred up terrible energy fluctuations, and the golden light was all over the Fantwo mountain, and the sound of Buddha echoed in the heavens. And this strange scene shocked the common people and nobles in the capital. After all, Fantwo mountain is the holy mountain of the Pure Land Kingdom. Today is an important day, and it is hard not to attract attention when such a big thing happens suddenly. What's going on? Is the Hanging Temple in crisis? Should we send troops to support? Damn, what's going on inside? The whole capital was in panic. King, it's bad, the eldest prince, the second prince, and the princess are still in the Hanging Temple. The general hurried over. The king of the Pure Land Kingdom is a middle-aged man with a beard, a glazed crown, and gorgeous clothes. When he heard this, he was so anxious that he wandered around the palace like an ant on a hot pot. Quickly mobilize the garrison troops of the capital, quickly station around Mount Fantwo, and always look for the right opportunity to rescue. The king of Pure Land said anxiously. Yes, the general withdrew respectfully. He walked out of the hall and turned a corner, standing in a remote corner, with a strange smile on his face. He took out an ancient token from his body, and after injecting magic power, the token emitted a silver glow, as if sending some kind of signal to someone. Mount Fantwo. The mountain protection formation is linked together, exuding an ancient and vicissitudes of life. Many monks looked painful, feeling dizzy, and the sound of chanting incessantly poured into their minds, as if countless flies were buzzing around, and the blood in their bodies was surging wildly, losing the ability to fight. Damn, it's this shitty formation that's causing trouble, Li Wuji said angrily. HMPH, you actually disturbed my mind. Hong Chenny frowned. Even with his cultivation, he was slightly affected. Swish, swish, swish. This is not over yet. Under the blessing of the mountain protection formation, the monks of the Hanging Temple are rising in momentum, as if some kind of blessing has descended and their strength in all aspects has been improved. The abbot was also blessed by the formation. His whole body was shining with golden light, and a golden halo was hanging behind his head, just like a real Buddha descending to the mortal world to save all living beings. But his expression was really weird, half of his face was hideous and the other half was kind. No matter how you look at it, it feels very creepy. The aura on him is extremely terrifying. Even if Randing is resurrected, even if he uses all his strength, he will be slapped to death by him with one hand. Demon Yi, let's settle the old and new accounts together today. The abbot's voice was neither sad nor happy, and he stared at the silver-haired young man as if he was looking at a corpse. In his eyes, the other party is a dying person. Swish. The abbot flashed away and slapped out a palm with full power. The palm technique contained mystery and explosive power. This is the Bodhidharma palm. Haha. Seeing the opponent coming fiercely, Yi Junlin sneered and clenched his fist and punched out, with the momentum of a dragon. Bang! The fists and palms collided, and an amazing wave of energy broke out. At the same time, the monks of the Hanging Temple were dispatched to slaughter the outsiders here. Affected by the mountain protection formation, everyone had no room for resistance and was suppressed all of a sudden. The solemn and ancient Hanging Temple was filled with fierce shouts and killings, and the air began to be filled with the smell of blood. A bunch of bald donkeys, die for Master Li. Li Wuji's figure swept away, and when his wrist turned, the ink-colored sword light crisscrossed, and the sword energy tore the void. Wherever he passed along the way, there was a lot of killing and blood splattered. I can finally kill. Hong Chenyi's beautiful face revealed excitement. His eyes were burning with golden flames, his striking red clothes were fluttering, his hair was fluttering, and when he raised his hands, the flames swept like a silk thread, and many disciples and elders of the Hanging Temple were burned to ashes. Good, so powerful, Princess Mingyu said with difficulty, covering her aching head. In her eyes, the fairy in red was so charming. This is the famous disciple of Senior Yi, Fairy Hong. The eldest and second princes were both infatuated, forgetting the pain for a while, and their eyes showed admiration. Buzz buzz buzz, the effect of the mountain protection formation became more and more intense. The people of the Hanging Temple became more and more courageous. In a flash, the abbot and Yi Junlin fought for more than a dozen moves, the surrounding void collapsed with a rumble, the airflow surged, and the scene was extremely terrifying. The abbot said coldly, "Demon Yi, I have a great formation to bless me, you can't beat me." Feeling the opponent's continued increase in strength and his mind being gradually penetrated, Yi Junlin's face was not panicked at all, and he said in amazement, "Interesting. With the right time, place and people, no wonder he has such confidence." Now the abbot of this Hanging Temple is definitely a small group of people at the top of the tribulation realm. Don't worry, the good show has just begun. Yi Junlin snapped his fingers with a playful smile. Chapter 114, C-114 Exaggerated Lineup. Suddenly, in the vast sky, a huge body of 100,000 meters high broke through the clouds and appeared above Mount Fantua with a majestic momentum. The next second, a loud voice like a wail resounded through the sky, shaking the entire Pure Land. Countless people cast shocked eyes and were stunned. Is this Kunpeng? The abbot was knowledgeable and naturally recognized the origin at a glance, with an expression of disbelief. The ancient mythical beast Kunpeng, the invincible king of the demon clan, unexpectedly appeared above Mount Fantuo. What is going on? And judging from the breath alone, this is still the cultivation of the tribulation realm. It is a real demon emperor. Kunpeng vibrated his wings and opened his abyss mouth. Countless terrifying energies gathered crazily, and then a vast light column that penetrated the sky burst out. Rumble. The light column hit the mountain protection formation fiercely, causing violent vibrations on the surface. On Kunpeng, there was a creature with a rat head and a human body, waving its tender little hands and shouting excitedly, "Master! Shushu and fourth junior brother are here to help you." The big mushroom king next to him was timid. Seeing that countless people were pointing and talking about the king, his social phobia broke out directly and he wanted to hide immediately. "Fourth junior brother, Master said that we have to go down and fight together." Bai Shaoxi grabbed its mushroom head and said seriously. The big mushroom king wanted to cry but had no tears. "Why did you have to bring me with you when you were causing trouble?" Seeing this, the abbot widened his eyes and said in a lost voice, "This Kunpeng is actually your mount." Before, because of the picture, he didn't see the real appearance of Yi Junlin's mount clearly. He only judged that it was a huge monster by the outline. But now, he was really scared. Only when you are at a higher altitude, you will know more clearly how terrible Kunpeng's potential is. However, this legendary existence that has long disappeared reappeared in the form of a mount. Even the abbot thought it was too outrageous. He looked at the silver-haired young man who seemed to be smiling, and had a strong question in his heart. How did this guy find and subdue him? Would the demon emperor who had crossed the calamity realm also submit to the great power of the human race? The abbot was puzzled. As the king of the demon race, Kunpeng would definitely destroy the world once he burst out with all his strength. Before, it was just a scavenger, but now it has a chance to really show its ability. At this moment, it seems to be working particularly hard. Boom! A destructive beam of light shot out from its mouth again, madly attacking the mountain protection formation, setting off a surging energy wave. The scene was terrifying and shocking. Shoo shoo, come and help too. Bai Shaoxi clenched her pink fist and hit the front fiercely. Her fist burst out with golden divine light and was filled with a chaotic atmosphere. Fourth junior brother. Urged by senior sister Bai, the Great Mushroom King had to cooperate even if he was reluctant. Boom! The Great Mushroom King mobilized the power of the Green Emperor's longevity art, and the emerald green light column tore through the void, like a divine punishment falling on the formation. Facing the combined attack of the three great calamity realms, the mountain protection formation finally had problems. The surface of the formation cracked and shattered, and a hole was broken in the light curtain covering Mount Fantuo. Instant. The people who had splitting headaches finally recovered. Seeing this scene, they were very excited and rushed out. Run! Shouts came one after another, and the scene was in chaos. Come back! Come back! The abbot was furious and roared. Chila, a large palm print filled with Buddha's light was slapped out, trying to slap all the fleeing monks to death. Boom! The large palm print was dispersed by Yi Junline's wave of his hand, and the starlight fell. Are you surprised or not? Yi Junline was playful. The abbot's face was as gloomy as water, and there was an endless murderous intent surging in his heart. He hated this guy so much. If it weren't for the other party picking on him, how could the Hanging Temple have come to this point? Now, this group of people have successfully escaped. Once this matter is spread by them, will the Hanging Temple still have a foothold in the future? Good opportunity, retreat quickly. The eldest prince said excitedly. Little sister, why are you still standing there? Hurry up. Princess Mingyu stared at Yi Junline's figure in a daze, and then the second prince grabbed her arm and hurriedly escaped under the protection of a group of guards. Swish! Next, countless monks filed out and escaped from Fantuo Mountain. Look, someone is coming out. The forces of all parties in the capital were shocked. Eldest prince, is the Hanging Temple invaded by evil spirits? Should we go in to reinforce? A middle-aged commander hurriedly stepped forward to ask. The eldest prince was furious. Reinforcement. They are demon monks possessed by evil spirits. Ah, the middle-aged commander was shocked. Is this a disguised insult to the monks of the Hanging Temple? Such rebellious remarks would be punishable by death in the Pure Land Kingdom. Brother, let's go back and report this to our father. The second prince looked at Fantuo Mountain with lingering fear. No matter what the result is, the sky of my Pure Land Kingdom will change. Swish! When seeing a gap in the light curtain, Bai Shaoxi pulled the Great Mushroom King and jumped from Kunpeng. Master, we are here. Yi Junline smiled and said, you are here, follow me to beat these shameless bald donkeys. Yeah, Bai Shaoxi rushed directly, clenched her fists and hit out. The air exploded, and waves of air rolled. Ah, from time to time, figures were knocked away and fell into a pool of blood in the crowd. Seeing the chaos at the scene, the Great Mushroom King hid in a corner, just wanting to wait and see what would happen. Huh, there's a mushroom here. Oh my god, this is the best Great Medicine King. Come and suppress it, it must be delicious when boiled into mushroom soup. The eyes of more than a dozen elders of the Hanging Temple lit up, and they rushed over impatiently. Why did you come to mess with me? Hearing the three words, mushroom soup, the Great Mushroom King was stimulated and instantly turned into a human form. This young man with a standard pot-covered head, dark skin like chocolate, thick eyebrows and big eyes, angrily waved his hands and shot out several green vines, which pierced through these elders like a divine chain of order, and blood was dripping. Oh my god, many of the meditation practitioners in the Hanging Temple who had originally wanted to attack it were frightened to the point of numbness when they saw this scene. At this time, the Great Mushroom King, whose mind was occupied by anger, drove countless vines in and out, and the scene was extremely brutal. Although Yi Junline and his men were few in number, they were superior in quality. After all, they were all at the Tribulation Realm. Not long after the battle began, heavy casualties occurred inside the Hanging Temple. Boom 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 boom. In the final collision, the two figures pulled away from each other. Yi Junlin taunted, "Old bald donkey, it seems that the situation here is not good." The abbot's facial muscles were twitching. He really didn't expect that this demon was so terrifying, and his disciples were all at the tribulation realm, and their combat power was extremely terrifying. This lineup was really exaggerated. Chapter 115. C-115 The Three Saints of the Hanging Temple. In the realm of overcoming tribulation, he is called a virtual immortal, which is only one word away from a true immortal. He is also a powerful person who is admired by countless people in the world of cultivation. Even the top forces in the 5 major regions are like living fossils, and they don't show off easily on weekdays. But now, several people in the tribulation realm have joined forces to attack Shuangkong Temple, and 4 of them actually come from the same sect. This is simply outrageous. The abbot stared intently at the silver-haired young man in front of him, feeling as if his heart was turning upside down. As the saying goes, great teachers make great disciples. Could it be that this devil really has a keen eye and a superb ability to enlighten his disciples? Otherwise, how could he explain that all the disciples he had accepted successfully reached the realm of transcending tribulation? If other sects can recruit one, they are already lucky. As a result, there were 4 of them here. The abbot tried his best to calm down, and 2 beams of cold light shot out from his deep eyes, and he said coldly, "Devil Yi, do you really think that the foundation of my Shuangkong Temple is limited to this?" As he spoke, he turned his head and looked into the depths of the Shuangkong Temple, and said in a meaningful tone, "You two, please take action and follow me to kill this person." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, 2 terrifying auras erupted from the depths of the hanging temple, spreading like a turbulent ocean. Aha! Aha! In an instant, 2 magic weapons came with terrifying power. One is a black and white stick, and the other is a golden bracelet. At this time, they seem to be spiritual, drawing beautiful arcs in the air, dragging a bright rainbow of light to attack Yi Junlin. "Those are the demon-suppressing stick and the diamond bracelet," the elder of Shuangkong Temple exclaimed. "These 2 magic weapons are among the 3 major magic weapons in Shuangkong Temple. They are both 7th-grade mysterious weapons and have been passed down for millions of years." Snort. Seeing these 2 magic weapons locked onto him, Yi Junlin waved his sleeves with a cold face, and a powerful force poured out like a mountain torrent. The stick and bracelet felt like they were struck by lightning, their aura weakened a lot, but they still launched a fierce attack on him. The void along the way is collapsing, and black and white electric lights are dancing like spiritual snakes, mixed with golden light. The scene is very strange and full of terror. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows, pointed with 2 fingers together, and shouted, "Back off." Boom! The 2 magic weapons flew backwards in the scalding smoke. The objects were vibrating violently and seemed to be whining. Swish! The stick and bracelet were pulled and returned to the hands of the 2 spellcasters respectively. The one on the left is a middle-aged monk with gold earrings. He has one hand on his chest and the other hand is holding a black and white stick. He is unusually tall. There is terrifying energy and blood dormant in his body, and his whole body exudes strong oppression. Feel. On the right is a young monk with a blazing white halo hanging on the back of his head. There are red dots between his eyebrows. His delicate face is neither sad nor happy. A golden bracelet is suspended in his hand, shining brightly. Who are those 2 people? A young novice asked curiously. The senior brother next to him thought of something and said with awe, "I have seen it in a portrait before. These are Elder Longxiang and Elder Qingjing. These 2 were as famous as our Abbot Suyun, and they were once known as the 3 elders of Shuangkong Temple." Holy! Boom! The whole place was in an uproar. After learning the identities of these 2 people, the morale of all the monks in Shuangkong Temple soared, and they were as excited as if they had been given a shot of blood. The 3 saints of Shuangkong Temple were so powerful in the eastern region back then that they were the 3 most powerful Zen practitioners in the world who respected them most. Back then, they were all top-notch Buddhist warriors. They were almost invincible when fighting alone. The most important thing was that the 3 of them had practiced a special technique. If they joined forces, they could double their lethality. It was at that time that the 3 of them joined forces to explore the eastern region, using their strength to convince the strong men from all sides, and completely establishing themselves as the 3 saints of the Shuangkong Temple. In the minds of Zen practitioners all over the world, the 3 saints of the Shuangkong Temple represent the 3 insurmountable mountains. Later, one of the monks named Suyun succeeded as the abbot of Shuangkong Temple, and the other 2 retired from the worldly affairs. At this point, the 3 saints of Shuangkong Temple have become a thing of the past. Even so, their prestige is still there, so much so that their invincible deeds are still spread in some places in the eastern region, making many knowledgeable cultivators extremely fearful of the Shuangkong Temple. Because the three saints were at the height of their power back then, and their reputation was so resounding. Now, the birth of two other people has made the monks in Shuangkong Temple very excited, as if they were crazy fans meeting their idols. As the current abbot of Shuangkong Temple, Shu Yun had a cold glint in his eyes. He didn't like these two people, but the situation forced him to ask his two former partners to take action. Due to the occasion, Shu Yun pretended to meet old friends and said with emotion, long time no see. Shu Yun, where did you provoke such a demon? You can actually repel me and the pure magic weapon with your bare hands. Elder Long Zhang's eyes were like lightning and his voice was like a bell. It's sad that Shuangkong Temple has not suffered such a blow after many years. Su Yun, how do you explain to the late abbot? Elder Qingjing said pitifully. Hear the words. The corners of Su Yun's mouth twitched, his face looking uncertain. That's it again, such a familiar feeling. If he hadn't been forced to do so, he really didn't want to see these two people. As his thoughts turned, Shu Yun's bloodshot eyes stared intently at Yi Junlin, placing all this debt on this person's head. Yi Junlin's eyes flickered. What's going on? This old bald donkey seems to have a bad relationship with these two people. Haha, it seems you have a lot of opinions about them. Yi Junlin said playfully. Elder Longxiang and Elder Qingjing were stunned. Su Yun, is what he said true? Su Yun shouted angrily. Devil, stop trying to sow discord. Then, he pinched his fingers with one hand, as if pulling something. Deep underground in Fantuo Mountain, a dusty treasure staff was shaking wildly, and then it shot out and floated in the air, surrounded by the Buddha's light, emitting great pressure. This is the first of the three magic weapons of the Hanging Temple, the 9th grade mysterious weapon, the Tongtian staff. The monks were shocked. Su Yun held the treasure staff in his hand, with one hand erected in front of his chest, and said coldly, if you can make me do this, it's worth it even if you die. The 9th grade mysterious weapon is only one step away from the immortal weapon, and it is the supreme magic weapon of the Hanging Temple. All along, it has been nourished by the spiritual energy of the heaven and earth in Fantuo Mountain. Now, in order to cooperate with the other two partners to kill Yi Junlin, Su Yun directly took it out, which shows how determined he is. You two, don't rush to blame me. Now that we are facing a powerful enemy, the three of us should unite and defend the orthodoxy. Su Yun reminded. That makes sense. Elder Longxiang nodded, and then moved to swing the demon subduing stick and hit him hard. Demon, give me your life. The shadows of the sticks were heavy and dazzling. This is the demon subduing stick technique. When used with the demon subduing stick, the power is definitely top-notch. Chila, on the other side, a dazzling golden light tore through the void and headed straight for Yi Junlin's head. Upon closer inspection, it was a diamond bracelet wrapped in a golden light ball, with ancient Sanskrit surrounding the whole body. Evil obstacle, die, Elder Qingjing shouted coldly. The two men launched a pincer attack on the target. In the middle, the abbot of the Hanging Temple swung the magic stick and smashed it on the head. The golden Buddha light was blazing all over his body, and the shadow of the Buddha appeared behind him, with a solemn appearance. Three super powerful men who have passed the tribulation perfectly, joined forces to launch a fierce attack on Yi Junlin. Feeling the overwhelming pressure coming, Yi Junlin stretched out his hand and raised it above his head. A flying sword with an ancient shape emerged from the void. The sword body was covered with ancient runes, as if it contained traces of vicissitudes of time. When held in his hand, the sword body of the long sword burst into pale brilliance, dazzling enough to be difficult to look directly at. Kang Yuan sword, you actually also have a 9th grade Zan weapon. Su Yun was shocked. Ding, the check-in location is detected at the Hanging Temple. Does the host want to receive the reward? At this moment, the system prompt sounded suddenly. Good guy, you only reacted at this time. I thought the reward was swallowed by you. Yi Junlin complained, silently saying in his heart, sign in. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, and reward a great sword technique, slaughter immortal sword Ju. Closing square bracket. In an instant, Yi Junlin's tiger body shook, and the information of this sword technique appeared in his mind. Out of instinct, he subconsciously swung the Kang Yuan sword. Boom, the murderous aura, killing intent, and killing power all gathered together at this moment, bursting out along the Kang Yuan sword with infinite power. It seemed that even the immortals in the sky would bleed under this sword move. What? Su Yun and the other two were shocked. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _ type. Mix. Chapter 116. C116 3 pure ones in 1 chi. Boom. The blood-red sword light that captured people's hearts was overwhelming, and it contained a terrifying force that could destroy the world. The momentum of the 3 saints of the Hanging Temple was blocked. After a lot of effort, they barely offset the destructive sword light. Suyun and the other 2 were still in shock. Devil, what kind of swordsmanship is this? This sword move had an unstoppable killing momentum, as if all the immortals who were high above were to be killed. Those with weak minds would even have a mental breakdown when facing this sword, and become stupid idiots on the spot. Fortunately, the 3 of them were proficient in Buddhist meditation and had a deep fortune in this regard, but even so, they were very embarrassed in front of the sword just now. At this time, Yi Junline's long silver-white hair was flying wildly, his eyes were full of murderous aura, and he held a 3-foot green sword in his hand, standing proudly in the world. It really felt like a big devil. Listen carefully, this sword technique is called the donkey killing sword technique, and it is specifically designed to kill old bald donkeys like you. Evil creature, how dare you speak so arrogantly? The hot-tempered elder Longshang was furious, his body was as fast as lightning, holding the demon-subduing stick and sweeping it violently, shattering all the void along the way, with a terrifying momentum. Clang! The demon-subduing stick vibrated violently, and a surging force was transmitted to Elder Long Zhang's arms, causing him to retreat with gritted teeth, and the blood in his body surged, which was very uncomfortable. Yi Junline said, "That's it." Elder Longshang said angrily, "Why are you 2 still standing there? Are you watching a joke?" Suyun's eyes were deep. "Each of you stand in your position and work together to besiege him." Elder Qingjing said, "That's what I mean." Swish swish swish. The next second, the 3 saints of the Hanging Temple adjusted their status, covering Yi Junline with a triangular force, and then launched attacks in their respective positions. Even though he was besieged by 3 people, Yi Junline, with one hand behind his back and the other holding the Kengyuan sword, still managed to handle it with ease. Clang clang clang. Above Mount Fantuo, the sound of metal clashing was endless, and the flat ripples visible to the naked eye were extremely dense. During the whole process, the 3 saints of the Hanging Temple became more and more frightened, and they didn't gain any advantage at all. Damn it, when the 3 of us were famous in the East region, we didn't encounter such a difficult opponent. Which era is this old monster? Elder Longxiang said depressedly. Suyun, where did you get such a strong man? When the old abbot was alive, he warned you not to make enemies for the Hanging Temple. You nodded at that time, and now you are getting us into trouble. Elder Qingjing chattered. Suyun became more and more angry as he listened, and he suppressed his anger and didn't get angry. Staring at the sword-holding figure, his heart was greatly shaken. Logically speaking, even if the mountain protection formation was damaged to a certain extent, it would still increase their strength, but in this situation, none of the 3 of them could gain the upper hand. It is conceivable that the strength of this demon is far beyond imagination. Swish! Yi Junline held the Kengyuan sword and swung it out fiercely. The sword light spread like a wave, full of terrifying killing power. The 3 people retreated as if struck by lightning. I thought you were so powerful, but it turns out you are just like this. Yi Junline shook his head and said. Damn it, our 3 saints of the Hanging Temple were actually underestimated. Suyun, if you ask me, I'd better use that power. Anyway, it has been accumulated for so many years, so what if it is consumed? The other 2 kept nagging in his ears. Shut up, I know what I am doing. Suyun couldn't bear it anymore and yelled at his 2 old partners. The 2 were stunned and looked at each other. Suyun looked at the silver-haired young man in front of him, his eyes emitting a brilliant light that could split the sky, and he grinned. Demon Yi, I will let you see the greatest foundation of my Hanging Temple next. After saying that, the abbot of the Hanging Temple pinched his fingers with one hand and chanted a spell. Buzz buzz buzz. Invisibly, a special power was released from the temple, and it seemed to be attracted and descended on the 3 of them. This power is very pure, sacred and flawless. Boom boom boom. The 3 of them seemed to have received some kind of blessing. When their eyes opened and closed, golden light shone everywhere, and each of them had a solemn appearance, like a Buddha who saves the suffering. Compared to just now, the aura on them was at least dozens of times stronger. Yi Junline frowned. Not good, Master is in danger. Li Wuji's eyebrows jumped, looking at the 3 brilliant Buddha lights, like the sun across the sky, and fear filled his heart. Hong Chenyi's face changed slightly, and he said in a rare solemn tone, this is the power of incense. The three saints of the Hanging Temple who were blessed by the power of incense, even he felt a sense of powerlessness from the bottom of his heart. If he were to face these three people, the only thought in his mind would be to escape. Amitabha, a Buddhist chant echoed in the sky like a huge bell. The old monk in a cassock held one hand on his chest and the other hand held a golden staff. His old face had a bit more compassion for the world. But his eyes were full of murderous intent. Damn it, I wanted to accumulate more incense power so that I could have a chance to break through the legendary true fairyland. Now, in order to deal with this tricky demon, I can only be forced to consume it to improve my strength. Even if I kill it in the end, it will be even more difficult to condense the power of incense again. After all, the reputation of the Hanging Temple has been ruined. Thinking of this, Suyun gnashed his teeth in hatred. This is why he wanted to silence all the outsiders before, even if he would rather kill 1,000 by mistake than let one go. This was to prevent the news from leaking out and causing a negative impact on the Shuangkong Temple. If no one recognizes the Shuangkong Temple, naturally no pilgrims will come to worship and provide a steady stream of incense. This is undoubtedly a major blow to the Buddhist forces. But now, this road has been cut off. The culprit is right in front of him. Is this your confidence? Yi Junlin stood with his sword in hand, his eyes so bright, and his silver-white hair fluttering in the wind. The sense of oppression brought by these three people at this time made him feel excited from the bottom of his heart. Yi Motu, when I use this power, you will have no chance of winning. Suffer death. Suyun's tongue exploded with spring thunder, and he started to swing his treasure staff. The other two people made a swish sound and launched a pincer attack on Yi Junlin. With a rumble, several figures broke into a terrifying fierce battle. The energy flow released in the fight raged wildly, and the sand and dust billowed. If it weren't for the special nature of Mount Fantuo, protected by a mountain-protecting formation, and if it hadn't been infiltrated by Buddhism and transformed from the inside out, it would have been shattered into powder under the impact of this force. I want to see how long you can last. Shu Yun sneered. The Shuangkong Temple has gone through a long period of time and has been worshipped by countless people. The power of the accumulated incense is so huge. Once you choose to bless yourself, your combat power is extremely terrifying. Soon, Yi Junlin began to be under siege, and even the spells used were resolved by the three of them. Suddenly, a loud cry like a wail sounded. Kunpeng, who was wandering outside, saw his master in trouble, changed his body shape and rushed into Mount Fantuo through the gap, opening his mouth to spray out destructive energy light waves. Boom! The beam of light was so dazzling that it wanted to destroy the heaven and the earth. But in the eyes of Shu Yun now, Kunpeng's attack was nothing at all. HMPH, you evil beast. He raised his hand to defeat the beam of light, and then grabbed the Kunpeng. The big golden palm print had a swastika, full of sacred aura. Kunpeng tried his best, but in the end he couldn't escape the fate of being suppressed. The golden palm print turned into a 5-finger mountain, making it difficult to move. You have a destiny with Buddhism. I will teach you later, and you will become the guardian beast of my Shuangkong Temple from now on. Shu Yun's eyes flashed with greed. This is Kunpeng, the supreme king among the demon clan. He has terrifying growth potential in the future. If he can use it for his own use, then the previous losses will be nothing. Yi Junlin's eyes turned cold. Old bald donkey, do you dare to touch my kun? A kun? What a bullshit name. Shu Yun cursed in his heart and sneered. So what if I move? Do you think you are still a threat to me? Now, he feels like he has a winning chance. Don't panic at all. Haha, then try this. Yi Junlin made a secret with one hand, his whole body exuding a dazzling light, and then, one after another, figures walked out from both sides of his body at the same time. Boom! The two figures swung their terrifying fists, combined with Yi Junlin's sword moves to directly repel the three saints of the Shuangkong Temple. This is. Suyun and the others widened their eyes and saw three identical figures in front of them. The most terrifying thing was that even their auras and cultivation levels were exactly the same. Feeling that the two clones were connected to his own mind, Yi Junlin found this experience very wonderful. Interesting, is this how one Qi transforms the three pure beings? The other two clones that evolved can exert the same abilities as the main body. Now he is no longer very good at fighting, but he is very good at fighting. Yi Junlin felt that it was not enough, so he thought about it. The other two clones had two more magic weapons in their hands. One is a burial coffin, and the other is a longevity flute. 9th grade profound weapon. Why are they all 9th grade mysterious weapons? Shu Yun was so frightened that his face was full of horror and he lost his voice. There is only one 9th grade mysterious weapon in the entire Shuangkong temple, but this guy has 3 of them in his hand. Why are there 2 more masters? After killing more than a dozen elders, Li Wuji turned his head and looked up at the sky, dumbfounded. There is such a mysterious power in the Kunlun world. Where did he learn it from? Or did he create it himself? Hong Chenny murmured with a look of astonishment on his face. After all, he is a true immortal who has seen the world. Ever since he followed this guy all the way, he is like a country bumpkin. At this time, in countless shocked eyes, 3 figures stand side by side in the void. Yi Junlin on the left is holding the burial coffin on his shoulders, with an arrogant and domineering posture. Yi Junlin on the right is holding the Changsheng flute to his mouth, and his temperament is like a banished immortal. Yi Junlin, in the middle, was holding the Kangyuan sword and pointing forward, with a playful smile on his face. Continue. Window. Underscore tabula equals window. Underscore tabula underscore tabula. Push mode. Thumb speed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail minus 300 times 250 feet. Target underscore type. Mix. Chapter 117. C117 You lose. Suyun, why don't you just cooperate with me and Longxiang to use that trick? If it's that trick, I think we will have a great chance of winning. Elder Qingjing said seriously. That's right, when the 3 of us used that trick together, it was indestructible and invincible. We were invincible, Elder Longxiang said seriously. Besides, this demon is so powerful. I think only that trick can suppress it. Hearing this, Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. Could it be that these 3 people have a trick that they haven't used yet? Hearing his companion's suggestion, Suyun not only did not accept it, but he almost lost control of his emotions and roared, "Get out! Don't even think about letting me cooperate with you again." Looking at his stimulated look, it seems that he recalled something bad. Hey. Seeing this, the 2 partners shook their heads helplessly. Suyun stared at Yi Junlin in the middle, gritting his teeth and saying, "Demon Yi, do you think that with 2 more of you, you can deal with us? You'll know if you try it." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Junlin flew out with a sword in his hand, and a sharp sword light flashed, approaching his brow. Suyun's pupils suddenly shrank, and he swung the magic stick and injected strong magic power, and the magic stick emitted a light as bright as the sun. Bang! Although the sword light was blocked, Suyun's figure retreated more than 10 feet, with blood flowing from the corners of his mouth, and a strong sense of shock in his eyes. Before, he had joined forces with the other 2 partners to deal with Yi Junlin with more people and fewer enemies. Now he wanted to fight head-on, but he was at a disadvantage as soon as he met him. Evil creature, don't be so arrogant. Elder Longxiang swung the magic stick, the shadow of the stick was real and fake, and then he accumulated power and smashed it towards Yi Junlin holding the sword. Bang! Unexpectedly, he was blocked by an ancient bronze coffin, and the stick hit it hard, making a trembling explosion. The clone Yi Junlin sneered, "Your opponent is me." Elder Longxiang was in doubt, and a chill ran down his back. "Longxiang, I'll help you." Elder Qingjing raised his hand and flicked it, and the diamond bracelet tore through the void like a spiral, dragging out a dazzling arc of light, and directly chopped the body of the clone Yi Junlin. The power was so strong that ordinary tribulation perfection would be turned into blood mud if it hit it. Suddenly, a melodious and crisp flute sounded, and a series of notes like substance condensed in the air, instantly intercepting the flying diamond bracelet. Zilala! The strong momentum of the diamond bracelet was blocked, as if it was firmly stuck by the notes, and it was difficult to move forward half an inch. Elder Qingjing narrowed his eyes, and saw a silver-haired young man playing the flute, with a mocking smile on his face, walking slowly towards him. "Before, you were 3 against 1, now it's a 1-on-1 duel, it's fair, right?" Yi Junlin, holding the sword, said jokingly. As he said that, he dodged and handed out a sword, the violent sword energy swept, and the blood-colored sword light slashed towards the abbot of the Hanging Temple. Not good. The cassock on Suyun's body fluttered in the wind, and he frantically encouraged the power in his body and injected it into the 9th grade mysterious weapon in his hand. The Tongtian staff burst out with infinite Buddha light, and the breath was sacred and peaceful. Rumble. A huge conflict broke out between the 2 sides. Suyun showed pain on his face, and he gritted his teeth and resisted with difficulty. Hee, how many moves can you block? Yi Junlin turned his wrist, and the sword light crisscrossed, and the waves of murderous intent turned into blood red, like a floating blood cloud. Puff! After resisting the fierce attacks one after another, Suyun finally couldn't help it, and vomited blood with a wow, with deep horror in his eyes. The other two people were unable to help. To be precise, they couldn't protect themselves either. Puff! Elder Longxiang was knocked out by the heaven burial coffin, and the blood he spat out was mixed with the broken internal organs. The clone Yi Junlin held the heaven burial coffin in one hand, and pressed forward with a domineering attitude. The nearby Elder Qingjing was not much better. The magic weapon Vajra bracelet that he was proud of was imprisoned by the musical notes and was difficult to activate. In desperation, he had to give up and cast a spell to attack the figure playing the flute. In an instant, the sound of the flute became passionate and turbulent, as if thousands of troops were galloping, or millions of lions were crossing the Yangtze River. What? Elder Qingjing's expression changed drastically, and he felt as if his whole body was cut by thousands of knives, and he felt extremely painful. In the field of vision, suddenly an ancient army came in a mighty manner. Some practitioners in armor held long spears, some waved swords, and drove unknown beasts one by one, and launched a charge. The magic cast by Elder Qingjing could not kill them at all, and they soon fell into it and were stabbed by weapons. Ah! He was helpless and screamed. Qingjing, what's wrong with you? Elder Longxiang noticed this and shouted in disbelief. In his opinion, the other party was like a possessed person. No one touched him, but he was wailing alone and even hurt himself. You should worry about yourself. The clone Yi Junlin sneered and raised his hand to hit the heaven burial coffin. The bronze coffin shattered the void and hit Elder Longxiang directly. Boom! The demon subduing stick was almost broken. Elder Longxiang bled from all 7 orifices, and his heart was like a raging sea. He couldn't beat him at all. How could this demon be so powerful? When they were still active in the East region before, they had never heard of this person. Where did Suyun come from? When Yi Junlin performed the One Qi transformation into 3 pure ones, the once famous 3 saints of the Hanging Temple were directly suppressed. The tide of battle is reversed. Stab! A line of blood shot out from Shu Yun's chest, and he gritted his teeth to hold on. At this time, the cassock on his body was broken, and the scars all over his body were shocking. He looked in a miserable state, without the posture of an enlightened monk like before. Looking at the silver-haired young man holding a sword in front of him, Shu Yun's heart trembled. If it weren't for the blessing of a large amount of incense power, he would have been hacked to death long ago. Is this the difference between people? Shu Yun looked ugly. Lao Na is the leader of Shuangkong Temple, the recognized #1 person in Florida. If you die like this, what will your previous efforts be? Thoughts are turning. At this time, the abbot of Shuangkong Temple recalled all the scenes of swallowing his anger in the past, as well as the moment when he finally reached the top of the mountain and enjoyed the world's meditation and worship. His eyes became bloodshot, and his face gradually became ferocious. Boom! A powerful momentum broke out and shot straight into the sky. Shu Yun was completely ready to fight and yelled, "You too, give me a helping hand." Elder Longxiang spat out another mouthful of blood and cursed with a smile. Grandma Ahmed, what a Buddha! If you had this kind of enlightenment a long time ago, would Qingjing and I still have to suffer so much? At the same time, as if being struck by lightning, Elder Qingjing silently recited the Dharma, and his eyes regained clarity. Only then did he see through the illusion and break away from the illusion created by the sound of the flute. The next second, the two of them quickly made secrets and changed their hand seals. Aha! Then, they turned into 2 black and white light groups and disappeared into the body of the abbot of Shuangkong Temple. Ah! The roar, filled with pain, resounded over Mount Fantuo. This is it. Yi Junlin was stunned. As the light group in front changed, a strange-looking figure gradually emerged. There are 3 heads with 3 faces. Suyun is the main one, and the other 2 partners are supplementary. 3 of the 6 arms are holding the heavenly staff, the demon subduing stick, and the diamond bracelet. Under the infusion of majestic mana, they exude terror, energy fluctuations. Is this 3 heads and 6 arms? Yi Junlin thought of the immortal magic he had heard in his previous life, but the strange change in front of him was obviously different from the traditional 3 heads and 6 arms. Because this is 3 heads and 6 arms fused together by 3 people. Suyun, we finally entered your body again. On the left side of the head, Elder Longxiang was very excited. Amitabha, back then we, the 3 saints of Shuangkong Temple, relied on this move to become invincible in the same situation. Elder Qingjing said with emotion on the head on the right. Shut up, shut up. As the leader, Shu Yun was sweating profusely and his expression was very painful. This unique skill can fuse the 3 casters together, twisting all the power into one rope. But one difficulty is that as the leader, you will endure tremendous pain, especially when the other 2 people merge into your body. The pain is beyond imagination, and every minute and second is a torment. Therefore, after so many years, Xu Yun felt that it was unbearable to look back and would never use this trick unless absolutely necessary. Unfortunately, it backfired. While taking advantage of this moment, we must deal with him as soon as possible. Xu Yun's eyes were about to burst, and the three magic weapons burst out with brilliant light. The other three hands formed hand seals and were also accumulating power to cast spells. Yi Junlin looked weird. Why did this old bald donkey look like his balls hurt? However, feeling the terrifying energy fluctuations ahead, Yi Junlin rarely became serious. Aha! The other two clones came to both sides, their gazes straight. Today, either you die or I live. Xu Yun roared hysterically and unleashed a powerful blow. That destructive aura made the entire Fantuo mountain tremble. It can be said that the earth is shaking and the mountains are shaking, and the scene is terrifying. Kill! Yi Junlin combined the power of the other two clones and swung a sword light that opened up the world. Rumble! Everyone's field of vision was filled with white, and they all entered a state of temporary deafness. It seemed as if the heaven and earth had stopped, and time and space had frozen. Master! Li Wuji's scalp was numb. Is this a battle between top powers? Hey, Shushu is going blind. Bai Xiaoxi subconsciously covered her eyes. The big mushroom king was so frightened that he trembled all over. Oh my god, the human race is so scary. Hong Chenyi's breathing was rapid, as if she was trying her best to ask for proof. What's going on? Terrifying energy fluctuations raged, and the mountain protecting formation was shattered by the impact. The entire Pure Land Kingdom shook like an earthquake, and countless people were frightened and terrified. Gradually, this wave fell into silence. The ancient temple was almost in ruins. The surviving elders and disciples looked up with confidence. But the next second, their faces were full of despair and they cried out sadly, "No!" The three saints of the Hanging Temple, who used to dominate the eastern territory and intimidated all forces, were now in a miserable state, kneeling on the ground covered in blood. Only the three figures of Yi Junlin stood side by side in the void, raised their chins slightly, and said calmly, "You lost." Chapter 118. C-118 Who Understands? At that moment, both sides used all their strength to collide, but the three saints of the Hanging Temple finally couldn't hold on and were forced to disintegrate. Today, they are in a sluggish state and are seriously injured. Although they can be reborn with blood for the Tribulation Realm, the mana and real energy consumed is real. In addition, they have reached the end of their skills and have reached the end of their rope. Just as Yi Junlin said, they have lost, completely. Xu Yun's heart felt desolate, as if he was in another world. How could there be such a terrifying and powerful person in this world? To know, he is still fighting at home, and with the help of various tricks, his strength has been superimposed to an incredible level, far exceeding the upper limit of the strength that can be exerted in the Tribulation Realm. However, in front of this devil, he was still completely defeated. This person was so strong that he felt desperate. Devil, don't be complacent. With the contribution I have made in Shuangkong Temple, some Taoist friends will stand up to do justice for heaven and get rid of you quickly. Elder Long Shang said excitedly. Hey, I didn't expect that the Buddhist holy land that saved the common people in the past would also encounter such a disaster. I feel ashamed of the expectations of the sages of the past generations. It is because we failed to protect this pure land and let down their hard work. Elder Qingjing said sadly. Road. The three Yi Junlin looked at each other. Why do you feel like they are the villains with the most heinous crimes? Hey, you two don't have too much drama. The things that Shuangkong Temple did before are simply unjust. How many innocent people died tragically because of you? If the account is calculated, you will all have to go to hell to repent. Quote. Devil, don't talk nonsense. Elder Longshang almost lost control of his emotions, as if he had received the greatest insult. Shuangkong Temple has always been responsible for saving the common people. Every disciple must travel down the mountain to eliminate violence and do good deeds. We understand the principle of success and defeat of bandits, but before you killed us, you also tried to smear the Shuangkong Temple. This kind of behavior makes me feel shameful from the bottom of my heart. Bah, disgusting. Yi Junlin sneered, haha, it's true. Damn, what's your expression? Back then, the three of us went down the mountain to subjugate demons and protect the weak. In addition, there were too many good deeds done by our fellow disciples in Shuangkong Temple. Even now, they are all well documented. It is definitely not something that a demon like you can slander. Elder Qingjing's face was full of grief and anger, and he looked like a man who could not be killed or humiliated. Yi Junlin's smile gradually faded. His eyes turned to the current abbot, and he saw that the Buddhist leader said nothing and fell into silence. Old bald donkey, your two fellow disciples seem to be still in the dark. Do you dare to tell them what the Shuangkong temple has done now? Combining the other party's words, Yi Junlin realized the changes that had occurred in Shuangkong temple. After all, if it was really so bad from the beginning, how could it be recognized by Zen practitioners all over the world and loved by ordinary people? This is the #1 Buddhist holy land in the eastern region. In the final analysis, it is just that the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked, and the point of change occurs in the current abbot. Suyun, what does this guy mean? The two of them also noticed something and looked at each other. Suyun lowered his head, feeling tormented in his heart, and muttered with his lips, "No, don't ask. Don't want to say it. Still don't have the nerve to say it. Then let me help you." Yi Junlin sneered and stretched out his hand, his palm emitting a mysterious light. "No, don't." Suyun noticed that some memory fragments were intercepted and copied in his mind, and he shouted in horror. He wanted to resist, but he didn't have the qualifications now. "You two, let's take a good look." Yi Junlin flicked his finger, and the light ball disappeared into the eyebrows of the two people. In an instant, they knew everything about what Shuangkong temple was doing behind the scenes, as well as the causes and consequences of this incident. Elder Long Zhang's eyes turned red and his lips trembled. How could it be like this? How could it be like this? This is completely different from his memory of the hanging temple that existed in the past. Shu Yun, you are riding on this old beast. How many innocent people have been implicated to death by you over the years? Is this what people in Buddhism should do? Are you worthy of the last abbot's expectations of you? If I had known earlier, I, Long Shang, would definitely clean up the door for all my fellow Taoists. Elder Qingjing was heartbroken and tears fell down his face. What a sin. The sages of our Shuangkong temple have always stepped forward in times of crisis, and it took time for them to be recognized by the people of the world. Now because of you, Shuangkong temple his reputation was ruined. Suyun, how do you have the face to face them? Have you forgotten the grand vow you made in front of the abbot? Hearing the two men's indignant rebuke, Shu Yun began to show irritability, and finally the accumulated resentment exploded, and he roared at them, "That's enough." Snap! Yi Junlin slapped him away hard. "Old bald donkey, why are you roaring so loudly?" Shu Yun was beaten until stars appeared in his eyes, and half of his cheeks were swollen and asymmetrical. His heart was full of grievance, and he said angrily, "When the three of us joined the master, even though I was practicing so hard, the master had great expectations for you, but his attitude towards me was lukewarm. Later, perform better, fight for everything, grab everything, and do your best in everything. Even the combined stunt, I will practice the main position first, because I want to stand out and become the most commendable among the three." Speaking of that stunt, the muscles in the corners of Suyun's eyes twitched. "I remember when I was traveling in the mountains, I just wanted to deal with it and show off, but it turns out you guys always like to cause trouble. Every time we face enemies, they are all more advanced than us, are stronger than us, so they have no choice but to use that stunt. Do you know that every time you forcefully break into my body, I am in pain? Who knows this feeling?" Suyun's old face had a sad and angry look on his face, and he still felt frightened when he thought of the unforgettable pain. The two looked at each other, and each other could see the shock. Shu Yun's eyes were gloomy and he continued, "Fortunately, all my efforts have been rewarded. I have successfully become the most dazzling existence among you, so much so that I have been called the first of the three saints of Shuangkong temple. From that moment on, I have been even more cautious. I pretended to be a holy monk, but I didn't expect that Zhang was still too old. Master saw my disguise and rejected my proposal to become the next abbot in the council hall. I hate it. I really wanted to kill this old dog at that time. I tried my best to calm down, and went to the backyard to tentatively ask him, but he actually said that I had evil intentions. My morality is not worthy of me." Mentioning this, Shu Yun's face twisted like an evil ghost, and he said with a ferocious smile, "Fortunately, God has eyes." He failed to achieve the position of true immortal, and was struck by lightning and his soul was knocked to pieces. Damn, really deserved. Chapter 119. C119 News from the Fairy World. Without the hindrance of this old dog, and with my subsequent operations, I successfully gained the approval of all the elders, preventing the abbot from giving up his position to me. Finally, I became the leader of Buddhism in the eastern region, and the one worshipped by the world's Zen practitioners object. As he spoke, Shu Yun felt quite satisfied and elated, as if he had gone back to the time when he succeeded to the position of abbot and was flattered by the monks. Under my leadership, the Shuangkong temple is prospering. As long as the superficial skills are done well, no one will know the truth. The Shuangkong Temple is the most holy place in Buddhism, and I, Suyun, am the real holy monk, the closest to the true Buddha's meditation practice. But now, Shu Yun glared at Yi Junlin fiercely and roared, "It's all your fault. Why did you expose me? You can raise the conditions if you want. Why do you have to make trouble like this? It took a lot of effort for me to get here step by step, but everything was ruined because of you." Everything was ruined. The other two people looked shocked, as if they had met their old partner for the first time in so many years. "You are stubborn," Yi Junlin sneered, raised his hand and slapped him again. Snap! Blood spurted from the corner of Suyun's mouth, and the other cheek was swollen, looking like a big pig's head. "Now it's symmetrical. Beast, Master has high hopes for you, but in your heart he is so miserable," Elder Longshang said angrily. "It's ridiculous. As long as you use the same Buddhist moves successfully, he will praise you, but I am picked on by him. Every time I try my best, I can't get his approval. Even if I try to become the third person in Shuangkong Temple, the leader of the saints can't even get a good word from him. This old dog will always be prejudiced against me and look down on me. In this case, why should I respect him?" Suyun said sternly with blue veins on his forehead. "What the hell?" Elder Longshang was so angry that his heart twitched, and after a while he regained his strength and said, "Qingjing, go tell him." Elder Qingjing's eyes were red. "Suyun, you are wrong, very wrong. The one that Master has always been most optimistic about is actually you." Shu Yun was stunned and sneered. "Qingjing, at this time, don't try to trick me." Elder Qingjing sighed. "What good does it do me to lie to you? Do you still remember the first time you used Bodhidharma palm in the bamboo forest? We and Master were watching you from a distance. Master said personally, you or he has seen the disciples of Shuangkong Temple who have the highest understanding and the best talent. Unfortunately, they are prone to quick success and may go astray in the future. They need to temper their character." Quote. "At that time, Longshang and I were both envious because Master had never had such a high opinion of anyone. Later on, Master began to focus on cultivating you and wanted you to lay a solid foundation, so he was the most severe on you." Shu Yun laughed angrily. "Haha, you think I will believe you if you say this? Do you still remember that sect martial arts competition? I finally won the first place, but I was suspected of cheating, the reward was cancelled, and I was kicked into the background facing the wall and thinking, where is he as the master?" This was the most humiliating moment Suyun had ever encountered when he became a Yuanying monk. The feeling of having no one to protect him and becoming the laughingstock of the sect was still fresh in his memory to this day. Elder Qingjing said, "Hey, Master was ordered to perform a mission that time. It is said that he narrowly escaped death. Later, he returned with a seriously injured body. He was very angry when he heard the news. He directly confronted the elders and even threatened death, demanding get to the bottom of it. Later the sect compromised, and during the process of digging deeper, it was discovered that Elder Wu Ji was the one who was obstructing it. The purpose was to cover up his nephew to replace you and become the number one in the conference. The most important thing is that he thought that the master would never come back, so I dare to do this. You also know the result of the subsequent punishment. They were all abolished and expelled from the mountain by the Shuangkong Temple. Longshang and I only found out the inside story of this matter later when the abbot mentioned it. It's just that the master didn't take it to heart. It was never mentioned in front of us. As for the other elders who knew about it at the beginning, they did not dare to disclose it to the outside world, because it was an internal scandal within the Shuangkong Temple and they were afraid of the negative impact." Boom! Shu Yun felt as if he had been hit in the head by thunder, and his head was buzzing. In his heart, a feeling of panic began to creep up, and he kept saying, "Impossible, you must be lying to me." Elder Qingjing shook his head. "I can open the sea of consciousness and let you query the past memories." This matter was revealed by the abbot back then. "Suyun, Master really likes you. Have you noticed that the rewards you received in the sect before were more than those of the same level before? That's because the Master secretly added them himself." This is what the abbot and the I happened to come into the room and overheard Master's conversation. "I thought that you would eventually grow up, but as your strength improved, your mentality gradually became distorted, and you became more good at disguising yourself, and embarked on another irreversible path." Elder Longshang cursed angrily. "White-eyed wolf. Now you know that Master is the best to you, right? What's funny is that he doesn't know yet that his most beloved disciple has committed an unforgivable sin and ruined the future of Shuangkong Temple with his own hands. How could this happen? What on earth have I done?" After learning the truth, Shu Yun's heart was in knots, and 2 lines of turbid tears fell down. His hands were shaking one after another, and he couldn't put his mind to it. Why, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have made a big mistake. The fault is not mine, it's not me, then, Shu Yun muttered to himself as if in a daze, still escaping from himself to this day. You're still making excuses for riding a horse. Yi Junlin could no longer bear it, so he kicked him in the face, and then kicked and stomped on him frantically with the other two clones, as if they were a few street thugs beating up an old man. Your master is becoming more and more indifferent to you because he is disappointed in you. No matter how great your achievements are, in his heart, you are a piece of trash with bad intentions. After a beating, Suyun looked particularly miserable, with blood flowing from his nose. At this moment, he was in great pain. Just as his master said, he was a person who was eager for quick success and easy to go to extremes. Even after becoming the abbot, it was still the same. He treated the pilgrims who came and went as pigs to deceive them, created a perfect image to the outside world, and harvested a wave of incense power. He didn't care about the people of the world at all, and only valued the immediate interests. He had already forgotten the purpose of the Hanging Temple. You are right, I am indeed a sinner of Buddhism. I brought the Hanging Temple into the abyss, the skinny old monk cried and laughed, like a madman. Abbot, at this time, the remaining disciples and elders of the Hanging Temple had long lost the idea of fighting. They all knelt on the ground and cried out in grief. Hong Chenny wanted to kill them all, but after hearing Yi Junlin's message, he had to restrain himself and stop. Hey, why bother? Li Wuji sighed. After a while, the old monk gradually stopped crying. At this time, he sat cross-legged, staring at Yi Junlin holding a sword in front of him, with a complicated expression. Master Yi, you are the strongest person I have ever fought. I will not beg you to let me go. I deserve to die, but before I die, I want to tell you an insider information. I hope you can make plans early. It is also my last atonement at present. Say it, I am afraid that the fairyland will be destroyed soon. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode, thumb speed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet, target _type, mix. Chapter 120, C-120 The Curtain Falls. Yi Junlin. It would be a lie to say that he was not confused. After all, in the impression of ordinary people, the fairyland means the end point of all cultivators. Countless cultivators cannot pass the tribulation and become immortals in their entire lives, let alone go to the fairyland. As a result, now there are people who say that the fairyland may be destroyed in the future. If this news spreads, it will definitely be sneered by countless cultivators and regarded as brainwats. But the problem is that the person who revealed this news is not an ordinary cultivator, but the leader of the Buddhist Holy Land, the contemporary abbot of the Hanging Temple. So, this credibility has increased a lot at once. Yi Junlin showed doubts and asked tentatively, is your melon true? Suyun was stunned, what does Yi Shishi mean? I mean, where did you get the news? After all, you are not an immortal yet, just staying in the East region. How did you know what happened in the fairyland? Yi Junlin asked seriously. Suyun, monks should not lie. How could the fairy world be destroyed when everything is fine? Where did you get this news? If the fairy world is really destroyed, then the predecessors who ascended to the Hanging Temple before cannot be silent. Elder Longxiang obviously did not believe it and questioned. But Elder Qingjing seemed to think of something and said in shock, wait, could it be those predecessors? Suyun sighed, and a solemn look appeared in his eyes. Yes, just 2 years ago, a predecessor in the fairy world used the supreme secret method to tell me in a dream that the situation in the fairy world is getting worse and worse. Many immortals have fallen in the starry sky, and even the supreme beings in the fairy world can't protect themselves. Many of the lower realms they belong to have perished or fallen. The Kunlun world will soon be affected, so I led the monks of the Hanging Temple to make plans early. What? Everyone was shocked. If this is true, then not only the fairy world will perish, but the Kunlun world will also suffer. Hey, old bald donkey, you are talking nonsense. Li Wuji scolded, half believing and half doubting. Could it be that the rumors I heard at the beginning are true? Hong Chenny murmured with a shock in his heart. When he was still an immortal in the central region, he accidentally heard the secret that the immortal world was suspected to have undergone a drastic change in the circle, but most of the immortals, including him, who were stranded in the lower world, instinctively felt that it was mostly nonsense and sneered. After all, for all creatures who have embarked on the path of cultivation, no matter which race they come from, in their traditional cognition, the immortal world is high and mighty, and there is no possibility of change, even if billions of years have passed. Therefore, hearing the news that the immortal world may perish, this is simply a joke in the eyes of everyone. But now, the abbot of the Hanging Temple said this, which made Hong Chenny start to take it seriously again. After all, the Hanging Temple is a Buddhist holy place in the eastern region, and it is one of the more advanced ones among the immortal Taoist traditions. How many Zen practitioners have ascended to the immortal world in these long years? This ancient power has a Taoist tradition in the fairy world. So, it is very credible. Suyun shook his head and said bitterly, when a person is about to die, his words are good. Besides, there is no need for me to deceive you. The reason why I said it is just because I can't help but say it. If this is the case, where should the billions of creatures in Kunlun realm go? Elder Longxiang and Elder Qingjing cried out in despair. Everyone fell into a dead silence, and their hearts were filled with haze. However, there is an exception. It seems that the sky is really going to change. This is getting more and more interesting, Yi Junlin stroked his chin and said. Combined with the stargate he saw before in the riot of the creatures in the underworld, he vaguely realized that this might be related to the disaster encountered by the fairy world. Let me ask, how powerful is the realm of the mastermind behind the scenes who can threaten the safety of the fairy world? Fortunately, he is stronger when he meets a strong one, and he doesn't have to worry about what he cultivates, and he even has a little expectation. Suyun looked depressed. Why was this guy in front of him so excited? According to normal people's logic, shouldn't he be full of worries? You know, when he first heard the news, his face was full of despair and confusion, and the fear of the unknown could not be described in words. Obviously, Yi Junlin's reaction overturned Suyun's previous cognition. I always feel that the brain circuit of this silver-haired young man is incompatible with the practitioners he has seen before, and he can't be viewed with the eyes of ordinary people. Not only did he not feel afraid, but he was eager to try, and he had the idea of confronting him head-on. This style of fighting against the sky and daring to compete with the Tao is rare in the entire cultivation world. No wonder this person's strength is so terrifying and unbelievably strong. First of all, in terms of mentality and thinking, he and the other party are not at the same level. Thinking of this, Shu Yun, who was originally confused about this, was relieved immediately, showing a satisfied smile, and looked at Yi Junlin again with deep admiration. Yi Junlin was confused. Why did this old bald donkey look at him like this? It felt weird. Hee, don't think that I will let you go if you put on this look. Whether you admit your mistakes or atone for your sins, you will definitely die today. Yi Junlin held the Kangyuan sword and pointed the sword at the old monk sitting cross-legged in front of him. The tip of the sword flashed with a sharp cold light. His tone was unquestionable, without a trace of softness. Suyun looked at Yi Junlin calmly and said seriously, Donor Yi, I have said that I did not think of escaping punishment. This is my karma, but can you let me choose to end my life for the sake of my revealing the news to you? A sinner like me does not deserve to die under your sword. Yi Junlin narrowed his eyes slightly, a little surprised by the man's calmness. Okay, you commit suicide. Amitabha, Donor Yi is really a kind man. Suyun's eyes showed a trace of gratitude, and he said from the bottom of his heart. Yi Junlin joked, when you took the lead in smearing me before, you didn't say that. This tone has changed quite quickly. Ahem, sin. Suyun's face was embarrassed. He looked at the other two old partners and thought of the days when they fought side by side. In fact, if you think about it carefully, the whole process was painful and happy. This is the purest time for him to leave the struggle for power and profit. I'm sorry, I have caused you trouble. Suyun was full of apologies, and finally put his hands together and resolutely went to his death. In his mind, countless memories flashed through, like a horse-drawn tour. From the initial worship of the master, to the peak, he ran counter to the original concept of the Hanging Temple, doing dirty things behind the scenes. He killed too many innocent people, which can be said to be a serious sin, and it is impossible to wash it off. Later, he was defeated and woke up, but it was too late to regret. Finally, the picture was frozen on a serious face, as if in his eyes, there was no room for any sand, only right and wrong, good and evil. Master, I was wrong. Suyun closed his eyes with tears and murmured. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd. At this time, the current abbot of the Hanging Temple, the spiritual leader of Zen meditation in the world, and the head of the legendary Three Saints, slowly put his hands together, burned his body, and turned into a broken relic. Suyun, the two companions were heartbroken. Abbot, the Hanging Temple fell into great sorrow, and all the disciples and elders burst into tears, feeling as if the sky had fallen. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target underscore type. Mix.